Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Line to Gain, presented by Rally Towel Sports. I am Corey. With me is Aaron. How are you this lovely? Happy Friday Eve. How are you
Hey,
doing?
happy Friday Eve. I'm doing pretty good, man. It's
Happy opening day. Happy
opening day
Masters.
Masters, Tiger Woods back, baby.
Back
Let's
on the prowl.
go.
I mean, it was phenomenal. It was a phenomenal day of sports.
Yeah.
It's still going on, obviously, with the Reds opening day yet to happen. I know I'm sure we got some Reds fans rather, jumping in the chat later tonight. But Guardians first game, saw it probably didn't go the way that you wanted to start off a new name.
It
But
went the exact way I thought it would.
right, yeah. It's funny. I was talking to Bob right before this, and going on. Tito's never had a sub 500 team in 20 years, and this franchise that kind of like the front office is screwing the coach. And
Yeah.
I agree. I think the Reds are in a similar situation, so it's kind of interesting. Both Ohio teams are just sprinting towards the cellar this year, and disappointing considering the pieces that they've had within the last few years. So just beer, golf, and hoping for football, I think, is what our summer consists
well,
of.
that's a good thing the NFL makes themselves a year-round endeavor, so
Yeah.
it's never dry to talk about. But yeah, I mean, this is the time of year where I just start getting that, oh, I want to go out and golf. We don't have Georgia weather, so you don't get that. But I'm waiting for a break in the cold and the rain to get the sticks out there.
Tonight's episode is brought to you by Cigar City High Life. Not really, but Cigar City Brewing. If you're watching this podcast, which of course you are, you can be our sponsor. Yeah, you could be our sponsor tonight. But speaking of golf, the Masters, as we mentioned, started today, and it did not disappoint. I was glued to my computer screen at work working, and a lot of people just kept telling me about the Masters frequently.
Yeah, me too.
It was almost like I was watching it the whole time.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I mean, they're very good at being descriptive. So
one of my monitors I had email, and obviously on the other was spreadsheets.
Exactly. That's what they used to have the thing that like NCAA tournament, the boss button.
I don't know why the Masters at Masters, we need a boss button.
We need it. It's vital to me being productive at work.
Yeah.
So we need it. Thank you very much. But yeah, Tiger looked pretty good, man. I can't say I was disappointed in what I saw at Tiger. I think everybody's kind of rooting for Tiger at this point.
If you're even if you didn't, fan, you are, yeah.
Yeah, even if you didn't, some people are like, Tiger, he's a bad guy. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, that's what I said. I said that this 45-year-old lady today at work, she cried, but whatever. Will, thanks for liking the video, man. Thanks for dropping by. Appreciate you. But yeah, it was awesome. Cam Smith looked good. Max Homa looked pretty good, which is fun to see. He's like 2 over right now, rooting for him. Some of my other surprise I didn't see where Victor Hovland ended up. Did you?
Yeah, I think he ended up even.
Ended up even? Okay.
Yeah,
all right.
Yeah.
That's at Augusta, 4 strokes off the lead, I believe. Is it still -4 is the lead?
It just ended. There wasn't a single golfer today that ended with a no bogey round. So
yeah, it's the way it's been playing.
Course, yeah.
Yeah, way it's been playing. If you're joining us, jump in the chat, say what's up. Want to know who's hanging out with us tonight. Tonight we got a lot. Will, thanks for sharing the video as well, buddy. We got a lot of fun stuff to talk about. We're going to be getting into some quarterbacks. We're going to be doing some power rankings. We have scandal running amok throughout the entire NFL, but more specifically 2 franchises. One you expect, the other one I wouldn't have expected it out of that franchise. You never really have heard anything like that coming out of them. So we'll get to that in a little bit. And then we have another edition. We've done it on In the Post, but tonight we're going to do it online to gain a game of Who the Fuck It Is. Who the Fuck It Is. Yeah,
Ooh.
It's back. It's back. We played it last night. I got buried. I got absolutely buried. Yeah.
Man, that was so fun. I was actually upset I couldn't join last night.
You would have done great. You would have done great. I did get the last one. It was Damian Lillard.
Oh, Lillard.
I can't remember.
That's okay.
I remember the one I got though.
You know what? That's on me. I need to watch, and I couldn't. I'm sorry.
Fair point. You can catch all our episodes on YouTube. Rally Towel Sports. Go ahead and check it out. Anyway, let's get to it. I say let's jump right in. Let's get to some of this quarterback talk. That's where I want to go off the bat. So I'm just going to throw it out to you this way. Who's your favorite quarterback in the draft coming up?
You know, I'm digging the Liberty guy, man. I mean, he's
Malik Willis.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, I am. I think. I should just back up. I don't really think any of them are that good, at least relative to the last couple of years of quarterback classes that we've gotten.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like Malik. I think he's got the most upside, if you will. I think there is kind of a wide range of where this could go. I know we're going to get into it, but you could see Detroit at 2 take somebody. I think Carolina, where they're at, would make a lot of sense for them to make a move. And then after that, it's kind of, I don't really think there's going to be anybody that kind of trades up this year to really get into the mix. I think a team like the Steelers might luck out kind of in the same way.
Thanks for liking the stream.
The Patriots did last year, where they didn't have to give up any draft capital. They got Mac Jones, and that's their guy now. Frankly, I don't like Pickett. He really reminds me a lot of Sam Darnold, where like I'm not going to knock the guy for the hand size thing, but that really is a thing. If you can't hold on to the ball when you get hit, I think he had like 30 plus fumbles in college. That type of stuff transfers.
Jeff, thanks for liking the stream, man.
On
that issue, on the hand thing, and that was the thing that actually Burrow got knocked for a little bit when he measured, but on tape, there was no question on tape. Bruce, appreciate it. Have a killer stream, Corey and Aaron. That was nice. You said guest, but that title is sailed. There was a knock on Burrow, and I think Burrow had a really great comment for it. Bruce, thank you for sharing the stream. He said, it's only an issue if it's an issue on the stat line or if it's an issue on tape. And what he meant by that is, am I fumbling the ball a lot? Is the ball getting knocked out of my hands a lot? Go back and watch the tape, and that's not really the case. I hold on to the ball just fine. So I think that does resonate. So you have to. I don't know his experience or the statistics off the top of my head. I do think it is kind of high though, from what I think. I do believe I had read that, and I'll fact check it here in just a second.
I believe it was. I checked when I was doing a little prep today. I believe it was like 36 or so. And
36 lost or total. Total fumbles, and that's out of 4 years starting, or okay. That's relative. I'd say that's relatively significant, wouldn't you?
I would too, especially for some people that are mocking him as the top guy in the draft. And again, it's just kind of similar to
it's almost 10 a year,
like the Darnold thing. Darnold, turned the ball over a lot from interceptions, but he also put the ball on the ground a lot. And then when he, came to the pros, we saw him put it on the ground a lot, and that's not what you want out of your quarterback.
Unpopular. This is from Jeff. Unpopular opinion. Sauce Gardner, top 3 player in the draft. Is that an unpopular opinion?
I don't think so. I think I've seen some mocks with him going 4 to the Jets. I don't think it's that unpopular at all. In fact, I subscribe to that.
Yeah, I would agree with that too. I mean, you have Hutchinson, safety at Notre Dame. His name's escaping me off the top of my head right now. He's another big target I'm seeing up near the top, as well as this is new territory for me, not being at the front of the draft though.
We don't have a first round pick. I'm used to having multiple.
Yeah, right. And then I would probably say Sauce is up there. Thibodeau. I mean, I've seen him sliding a lot lately, which is kind of interesting. But back to your point, in terms of quarterback hungry teams near the front of the draft, obviously Jacksonville number 1 overall, not in need of a quarterback. Detroit at number 2, absolutely.
Right.
Houston at 3, I don't think they're ready to throw it in on Davis Mills yet. Obviously the Jets is Zach Wilson. The New York Giants are an interesting one, but they just signed Tyrod Taylor, so I'm not sure that they're ready to draft right now. I think they have their stopgap guy in case they're ready to get rid of Daniel Jones there. The Carolina Panthers at 6. The Carolina Panthers make a lot of sense for drafting a quarterback.
Yes.
I think that's another team that could and should. The Giants again have another pick at 7 via the Bears, followed by the Falcons. Now, the Falcons are an interesting one as well. The Falcons are a team that I could see taking a quarterback. So you got 3, and then obviously the Seahawks at 9 via Denver. So I'd say there's 4 viable options to drafting a quarterback if they find somebody that they like. And that's the real question is there somebody worth taking at that point in the draft? Malik Willis, I really go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I mean, there was a report that came out that nobody's even trying to talk to the Jaguars about moving up to number 1. So I think that's pretty indicative of, what teams think of the quarterback, because there's not enough you can trade to get a franchise guy, especially in the draft where you have 5 years of team control at, basically no money against the salary cap. I mean, hey, look at the Bengals, right? You guys have the ability to, spend around the fact that you guys have a, franchise quarterback, and really it's not costing you anything. And I think the fact that you've seen nothing about the fact that number 1's even available, it's not like, the Jaguars are saying, it's not available. But I think they're going to be content just taking Hutchinson, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But every year there's always rumblings about, what's it going to take to move into number 1. So it's always a quarterback that goes number 1.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's been other guys that weren't quarterbacks that went number 1 in the last, in the last few recent drafts. It's usually an edge rusher or offensive tackle or quarterback. Those are usually the 3 positions that are going to go number 1 overall. So, yeah, I think that is a little bit interesting. If I had to look at some of these guys, I think again, high ceiling. I agree with you in terms of Malik Willis being the high ceiling guy. When I'm looking at the top 3, which would be Kenny Pickett out of Pittsburgh, Malik Willis out of Liberty, and then Desmond Ridder out of the University of Cincinnati, I think falls into that 3 slot. But when I look at, I think in terms of like physiology, I look at like a guy like Kenny Pickett. He looks like an NFL quarterback to me, right? Yeah. Am I? You know what I mean? Just the way he's built and holding himself there. Malik Willis looks like a guy that can really form into that. He's got the mechanics down, and when I mean the mechanics, I'm talking about his release. I watched his release at the combine, and it's the most concise, tight snap, throw of the ball that you would want in a quarterback position. So I think he's got the tools there as well. It's just getting that NFL development, I think, could really excel his game. And then you look at Desmond Ridder, and I'm not sure that there's a more pure touch thrower or a more accurate quarterback in this draft at this point. Like he has the highest floor, in my opinion, does Desmond Ridder. I think that's one of the safer quarterbacks that you could take.
Yeah.
We'll get to this comment real quick here, Jeff. Let's see. Feels like the draft is a little soft at QB. Teams are looking to next year with Stroud and guy from Bama. That would be Bryce Young. Heisman Trophy winner, Bryce Young. Do you take a chance this year and trade up for next year and stock up on picks? If you're Atlanta, what do you do? Giants, etc. Feels like we're trying to pick the tallest little person for a basketball team. So, Aaron, I'll let you unpack that. What I mean, if you're in that position, I think you've kind of alluded to what you would do in that situation, right?
Yeah, I think we talked about this last time, but if I am the Lions, for instance, or I know he said Atlanta, or the Giants, I'm loading up on guys that are going to be commodities as well. Like we said, that edge rusher, that left tackle, cornerback as well, wide receiver maybe. Those are the guys we're seeing, the wide receiver contracts that we're seeing. We all know that defensive ends get top money, and obviously left tackles as well. I want to have those guys under team control with 5-year options for as long as I can. I want to build around the team so that way when I do bring in a guy like Stroud or Young, or there's always going to be a guy or two that kind of creeps in that we're not talking about right now, that shows themselves next year. Those are the type of players that you are probably looking for. I think that's why you saw a lot of quarterback movement in free agency and trades, where a lot of people are like, let's just, I think we have a roster right now that we can maybe win with. And if not, kind of throw it into the tank. And, next year can be that year where, we're contending for the number 1 pick, 2, 3, where we can get one of these people. I think that's why you saw the Eagles make that weird trade with the Saints, where they basically just kind of punted their draft capital until next year. I don't think they're sold on Jalen Hurts, which is fair.
Totally fair.
That's One of these players I think will be a good quarterback. It's kind of a crapshoot. I'm kind of with you that I think Ritter, he's like 6'3", 210, 215, something like
Moves
that.
great.
Yeah, he looks to me like the most pro style quarterback, but he still has that new, NFL in him as well. He can move around.
Athleticism,
Yeah,
yeah.
he's
He's
athletic.
not a statue in the pocket. You know what I mean?
No.
He can, yeah.
The one thing I want to mention, though, that I think is a little bit of tidbit that I think your listeners will be interested to, David Tepper, the owner of the Carolina Panthers,
Mhm.
is a big donor, and his names are all over buildings at the University of Pittsburgh. Who went to the University of Pittsburgh? Pickett. I think there's something there. And I think if I had to make a bold prediction right now, I'm taking Pickett to Carolina, and I think that's part of it.
That would be that'd be pretty interesting, and I think obviously Carolina needs a quarterback. I think the Lions would probably. I don't see the Lions drafting Pickett.
What a terrible name for a quarterback.
Yeah, he threw it, and he drops back and throws, and he picked it.
Oh, yeah. And on this drive, it's fumble it.
Yeah, fumble it is under center. And all right, so Texans, Jets, Giants, and no, don't think so. I think the Panthers are a viable option. Do you think the Giants? I mean, Jeff was talking about the Giants. Do you think there's any shot that they take? They got 2 picks in the top right now.
2 picks, and I think it's 5 and 7, if off the top of my head.
Yeah,
Same thing, right? Load up on premier positions.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I'm looking at it. And again, I'm sure one of these quarterbacks is going to show themselves to be, worth their salt, but there isn't like a Andrew
or trade
Luck
back
or a Burrow or anyone like that where you're just like, okay, this guy super, super high ceiling, and not only that, but has shown.
So let's say the Jets are coming up. The 1 through 4 is coming up. The Giants are sitting there. They got 7. They know the Panthers are the only team in front of them. They're likely going to take a quarterback. I think the Giants at 5 are actually in a really good position to trade their pick. Say there is a team like the Seahawks. Say there is a team like the Broncos that wants to get back up in there. Let's see. Wait, where are the Broncos? No, the Broncos aren't good. Sorry, they have Russell Wilson. Sorry about that. Yeah. A team like Washington, I guess so.
They just traded all that stuff for Wentz.
Carson Wentz, I know. Yeah, the Steelers. Say there is a team that wants to get up into that zone right ahead of Carolina. The Giants are in a hell of a spot to do it, only having to take a step back from 1 pick, knowing that the person in front of you is likely, potentially able to take a quarterback. So I think all the news about, the Panthers potentially looking to take Pickett, that's nothing but great news for the Giants sitting there at 5 for any teams that were hoping he would slide to them.
Yeah, I think the team that benefits the most from this, and I hate to say it, and I know you'll hate to hear it, is the Steelers. Because I don't think anyone is trading to move up for quarterback. Ritter. And I think where they're at, they're going to be in a comfortable position to take one of these guys. If it is Willis, I mean, there's been reports that Tomlin really loves him, and as well as, oh God, I'm sorry, what's the Cincy guy? Ritter. Yeah, I'm sorry. I know there's been those reports out that those are the players or the quarterbacks that he does like. And, I don't think they're going to have to move up to get him. And again, I just alluded to it before, but it's kind of like what happened with Mac Jones last year. And you're like, oh God, really? Belichick got this guy that just fell to him at like 14 or something without having to give up any capital moving forward. I think those, teams at the end of the draft, maybe, even like Tampa Bay, maybe taking a flyer on a quarterback at the end.
Kyle Trask, not the future? What do you mean?
But you know what I mean? I think a team that is solid at quarterback, or maybe even like the Vikings, for instance. They just re-signed.
I mean, they spent a bunch of money on Kirk Cousins.
When I came on here for the Watson pod, we were kind of playing that musical chairs of where can Baker Mayfield go, and it's just like there just aren't that many seats left at the table.
Right.
I think a team at the end of the draft is going to be able to get a good guy that can, maybe sit for a year, 2 or 3. The irony is, this would have been a perfect draft for maybe the Packers to take a quarterback. But hey, they took Love, and that lit Rodgers on fire. Maybe do it again and really just set the fire off.
First round draft pick on Desmond Ritter, Matt Corral going to the Packers in the first round. Just a little fire to light it up underneath. And I'm looking for. There's a a tweet that came out, I believe it was today, about Desmond Ridder and his visits that he has scheduled currently. I do believe he is scheduled. He was in Pittsburgh, if I'm not mistaken, today. I believe he has visits scheduled with the Seahawks, as well as, let's see here. I want to say he was with the Titans as well. That was another interesting one. And, the point to be made about that one, guys, we're going to get to your comments here in just a second. Keep them rolling in. I love it.
Love it.
I believe it was the Titans. I could be mistaken. If somebody knows it, just throw it out there. Anyway, Luke Fickell, head coach of the Cincinnati Bearcats, and Mike Vrabel, head coach of the Tennessee Titans. Best buds, best friends. Yeah. So something to be said about that. The Titans, I think, could stand to replace Ryan Tannehill. Honestly, I think he's the worst part of their team, and at least the part that's not the worst part, but the part that's holding them back the most. I think their offensive line is the worst part. But you put a viable option
example of team at the end of the draft that they don't necessarily
that could fall right to them. Yeah, and I think Pittsburgh is a destination that makes sense for Ridder as well. Into the first round, the Steelers don't. Yeah, they've made some improvements in some of their biggest gaps, right? Offensive line was their biggest weakness next to quarterback, right? Their defense wasn't too bad as the Steelers. So if they put a viable option under center, and they don't have one right now, honestly, Trubisky's a stopgap. It's a good deal for Trubisky because he can manage it for a year, go out there and get a chance to start and play and go get a contract the following year. And it's a great situation for the Steelers, especially in this draft, being that they don't have to start him right away. They can sit him for a year, let him develop with the team, learn the offense, all of these things. And it gives them an extra draft and free agency to tool their offense more around what that quarterback's comfortable doing. Steelers aren't going anywhere, guys. Let's just be very clear about that.
No, and I was going to say, we're both AFC North fans. You're Bengals, I'm Browns.
You're right.
They take any single one of these quarterbacks. I'm like, okay, cool, great, fine.
Yep. It's not.
That's just how I feel about this.
Joe Burrow's not coming out of the draft. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
Let's see here. Get some of these comments. Will with a comment. He says, I think Sauce goes as early as well. It'd be fun to watch. He's got a mouth on him at least. If he doesn't dominate, he'll talk some great smack. I think Sauce is going to dominate. I don't think you have to worry about that at all. I think he's the best corner in the draft. The guy gave up 0 touchdowns. I think that has something to be said about it as well. So, I'm looking forward to it.
I love big body corners, especially the way that you see the receiver game change. You got so many big body receivers out there. Obviously, you have your guys like Stephon Diggs and your shorter receivers as well. But I really love those big body receivers that can move. I think he's going to be really, really good. I really do think he's going to go to the Jets at 4.
Okay. Will with a comment. He says, if you agree, I agree. If you want a QB this year, sorry, I can't read tonight. It's prime time to trade early picks. So happens you schmirk a burrow for the show. Will with a comment. Baker's on these guys' radar as well. I'm guessing weaker QB class makes it more likely he finds a home this year. So that's an interesting perspective, right?
Right.
Being the fact that, okay, maybe after the draft is probably where Baker signs, right? That's what I'm thinking. I think that's the only reason he hasn't signed. I think teams are willing to pay for Baker Mayfield. I don't think that's really the issue. I think they're thinking if somebody else can fall to us, we get a 5th-year control, we're not going to splurge on it. But if we don't, if it doesn't line up, if it's not right, if we can't trade back and still get our guy, then we don't really want to do it. Then we'll go get Baker. I think that's more likely of what's happening. What about you?
I think if the Browns were really that worried about the locker room aspect of it or the perception of the fact that they traded for Watson and now what are you going to do with Baker, I think they would have just eaten it already and already made it happen. I think the Browns are able to sit and be content. And I made the analogy last time with the Ben Simmons situation with the Sixers. I think they're basically just waiting for the situation to present itself rather than going out and chasing it. And that's great. And I'm not rooting for injury by any means, but if any team that's in semi contention, let's just say
Cousins goes down,
or Derek Carr goes down, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like anybody like that, that's kind of in that mid tier.
Right.
they'll be glad to give up a third or a fourth round at that point to take Baker. And everyone makes a big deal about the contract. It's $18 million, but it's gone after this year. You're not.
One thing about Kirk Cousins, he's not going to go down. His immune system and his research is stronger than anyone's. So that's Kirk true. Cousins, he's not going to get hurt. Tez, what's up? Thanks for dropping by, man. Appreciate you. Yeah. So Jeff with a comment: Baker to the Lions or Giants just makes sense. I think the Lions makes great sense. I think the Giants, it's a very crowded quarterback room of Daniel Jones, Baker Mayfield, and Tyrod Taylor. But I think the Lions makes a perfect sense. I mean, you got Jared Goff for 1 year under control, Baker Mayfield for 1 year under control. Let them battle them out. Then you're in that situation.
Are you really going to pay like $50 million for the quarterbacks to be absolute dog trash, though?
The Lions, I think, are fine with that. If one of these guys can prove it that they can earn the starting job, I think you try and you just cut Goff at that point.
Does Goff? What's his? You said he's only got 1 more year.
I believe so. Yeah.
Year? Okay.
Yeah. It's still a massive contract.
Well, yeah. So that makes a little sense, and I think it's a good fit. I just think contract wise, it's not. So what I mean by that is, I think Dan Campbell, I'm gonna bite your kneecaps, and Baker Mayfield, like just that grit mentality. I think there's a fit there. Not to mention that John Dorsey, who was the GM of the Browns, is like a senior, consultant,
like VP of personnel or something
some
like that.
bullshit title that's not GM, but he still has some dick swinging in the room.
Like Mr. Burns, just yeah,
exactly. So I think the fit is there from a personality standpoint. My only concern with the Lions is the contract. If Goff is up after this year, it's not as big of a deal. So is Baker as well. But
if they gave you like Jeff Okudah and like a 4th round pick,
they're not giving us Okudah.
I mean, Jeff Okudah hasn't started since he got drafted. So
yeah, but he's still what? Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
He has not played well. We'll put it that way.
I'll put it to you this way: if anyone's going to offer us, I mean, I've been reading enough reports that they're saying the Browns are going to have to give a pick out to get rid of the contract, which is just not going to happen. But we'll see how it shakes out. But here's the thing: I think Baker is a better option than any of these quarterbacks in the draft, even because it's not like he's insanely old. And then the thing too is Pickett's like 24. Like it's not like it's not like a lot of these guys are screaming like this is the face of the franchise. Every single one of these guys comes with a couple red flags, I would say.
Yeah. There's nobody that's lighting it up that you're just like, oh my God, this guy's gonna be amazing. There's no Trevor Lawrence sitting there.
Trevor Lawrence is a good example because he had the pedigree and for all
thoroughbred
the
horse.
Exactly.
Yeah, he's running in the Kentucky Derby actually.
It should be.
But
no, I think it's a great point. I think Baker to the Lions does make sense. I don't know about the Giants. I don't know. I think it's a lateral move at best right now with the Daniel Jones thing. You probably just ride it out. I think somebody out there.
I think Daniel Jones's career is surmised by one play only. That is a 75-yard almost touchdown run. That is Daniel Jones's career. It's like, you're pretty good. Not that good.
You're not that good.
Yeah. You ain't 6 points good, buddy. They ended up getting a field goal on that drive. Just so you know. Some more comments here. Let's say from Will. He's saying maybe there's a Brady in the draft. Any lesser known, maybe badasses in the NFL? I don't pay attention enough to know. You see, that's the thing is like no one was like Brady's going to be a badass because every team passed on him at least 5 times. Right. Every NFL team passed on him at least 5 times, including his own. So I don't think that's really and Russell Wilson, same situation, a 3rd round draft pick. Every team passed on Russell Wilson at least twice. So there's no really way to know until it happens. Maybe that'd be cool. I love those stories. I hope it's not in my division, but
Yeah, I think if there's anyone that's a little bit of a sleeper, it's probably Sam Howell out of North Carolina. He doesn't have prototypical size. He's like 6'1", I believe, but he's built. You look at him. Honestly, funny enough, we're talking about it. I've seen enough comps about him that they're basically like, yeah, he's kind of like Baker Mayfield. But I think I think if there's anybody that I don't think anyone's talking about enough is Howell. because like we said, I don't think a lot of these guys are going to, I think even like Coral could go in the second round or third round or something like that. I think these quarterbacks are going to go later than people think. So in years before, maybe the sixth quarterback is going to somehow sneak into the beginning or middle of the second round, where now you might see him go in the third or the fourth. So now we're talking about value over, skill set, for instance. So if, to answer the question, I think Howell might be an interesting, maybe end of second day, beginning of third day pick that could maybe turn into something, but nobody can predict a Brady. That's what makes the story so great, because it's just, nobody saw that. Everybody passed on him 6 times.
Yeah, exactly. So let's see here. I want to get to Ryan's comment here. Ryan's got to go in and say, even Josh Dobbs is visiting teams. I think he's even a better quarterback than any quarterback in the draft. First of all, Ryan is a Tennessee fan, so just there you go with that bullshit.
Okay, that makes more sense.
Yeah, Josh Dobbs has been in the league long enough that if he was good enough, he'd be a starter. That's my opinion on Josh Dobbs. He's been there long enough. If he had proven to be a starter, he would be a starter. Same shit with Dwayne Haskins. If Dwayne Haskins was good enough, he'd be starting.
Let's keep going with Pittsburgh quarterbacks. Same with Mason Rudolph.
Right? The Pittsburgh Steelers wouldn't be taking fucking
all bad.
that's the situation. I think at this point in his career, I think there are guys though like Tyrod that are good enough to be starters. They've just gotten really shit shakes. I think Tyrod Taylor will probably be the starting quarterback for the New York Giants before the end of the season. So whether or not they're willing to take a Todd dropping by leg in the stream. What's up, buddy? I think if they're in a position next year that maybe they ride him out an additional year. Maybe they don't line up for getting a premier spot in the next draft. So we'll have to wait and see. The Giants are an enigma. They're in an interesting spot as a franchise, getting a new GM and a new coach, and kind of in limbo with their quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out. Will with another comment here, and then we're gonna move on to the meat and potatoes of the night. The part I'm really interested at. We got power rankings coming up here. Yeah, way too early. Way too early.
Fun exercise nonetheless.
Yeah,
especially kind of like post free agency, pre-draft. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. Saying Baker's best hope is that he plays for a year or two while a newly drafted QB gets ready. Yeah, I think that's a similar situation like Mitch Trubisky, like we just talked about, right?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would say Baker's probably better than that.
I would agree.
By definition, there are 32 starting quarterbacks in the league. I would tell you that Baker Mayfield is a top 32 quarterback in the league. It doesn't always shake out that way, at least in terms of where everyone lands. So, right. I certainly think there is a chance that he can catch on somewhere and have a little bit of success. And I would venture Tannehill would kind of be that ceiling, if you will, where it's, he didn't do great in Miami. He went to Tennessee. Mariota fell off. They went with Tannehill, and he has been more than good enough for them to be at the top of that division and make a little bit of noise. Now, they're able to do that because they have guys like A.J. Brown and Derrick Henry on offense to kind of really make that engine run. And what we've said about Baker in Cleveland was he was able to be successful when all the pieces around him were able to succeed. So right now where Baker's at in his career, I would say his ceiling at this point is what Tannehill has been with the Titans.
That's a good analogy.
There's nothing wrong with that because Tannehill got paid, and I still think there is that shred of hope for Baker's career. But I would say unless he can get a little bit of an attitude adjustment, which I think is asking for a lot because I think that's how he plays like he does. But I would say right now that's probably the ceiling for him, and then the floor is Trubisky, even lower than that, but you know what I mean, like honestly probably like Colt McCoy,
journeyman, getting starts when guys get banged up.
Yeah, and when he's out there, it's fine.
Yeah. There's the drop off is there, but it's not that severe.
He'll be in the league for another 8 years.
Yeah. I think you're probably right on that. All right. Well, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to get into these way too early pre-draft power rankings. Let's get it going.
So we're
There we go.
doing 1 to 12. It's way too early to do 1 to 32. And also,
Yeah,
you guys don't need to hear us hash out Jets, Giants, Texans.
I think there's going to be enough of that 12 through 9, and more specifically 1 through 3, and for that to happen. So let's see. What I'll do here is we're going to start it at 12, right? You want to start from the bottom?
Yeah.
And now we hear, right? That's exactly the way it goes. So starting from the bottom, who do you got at 12, Aaron? Who's your 12th best team in the NFL pre-draft?
I have the Dallas Cowboys.
Shut the fuck up. I do too. I've got the Dallas fucking Cowboys. That is amazing. All right.
I will. That's a fun start. I was like, oh, we're gonna have so many tangents on this. It's gonna
last forever. Oh my god.
So 12, I got Dallas, and this should probably be the Patriots. But when you play the Eagles, the Commanders, and the Giants 6 times, someone's got to win that division, and I think that matters for something. And I would say this team has the most talent in that division, and they let a lot of key pieces go in this offseason. They didn't really make a lot of noise in free agency, and that Zeke contract continues to be an albatross.
You know what? And that's the last of the big contracts for the running backs that we've seen, right? In my opinion. That's fair. I think ever since then, you've really started to see that crunch down, like the Mixon deal and the Chubb deal. Like those are
Chubb was a value.
A lot more team-friendly deals. So Will's got something to float out here, saying I want your bottom 3 at the end as well. So we didn't prepare for that, but fuck it, let's do it live.
Probably do it off the rip.
We'll do it. Fuck it, we'll do it live. Okay, perfect. So yeah, I mean, I got the Cowboys there at 12. I think obviously they're going to win that division, in my opinion. If I had to guess now, I think the Eagles can contend. They did last year. I think they can continue to do so. I think the Cowboys haven't admitted yet that Tony Pollard is their starting running back, and Zeke is no longer their starting running back because Pollard is better. Right. I think the Cowboys' offense flows better when he's out there. CeeDee Lamb continues to be a thorn in the side of defenses. I think he's going to it's going to keep escalating. We haven't seen the ceiling for him just yet. And Dak gets stuff done. Yeah, I mean, they had a blunder to end the season, a really bad one that you would probably put on Dak, right? That's your general out there in your 2-minute drill. He's supposed to manage the clock better than anybody, and he just didn't.
Right.
So I think offensive coordinator fell on the sword there for them, saying that that was a called play, that we were going to do that. I think Dak made that decision, and it cost them from beating San Francisco. Nonetheless, I got Dallas at 12. Still a team that's going to be in the playoffs, in my opinion. Who do you have coming in at number 11?
I got the Browns. I got the Cleveland Browns at 11.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Is that who you have too?
I have the fucking Browns. I'm not even kidding you. Here, I'm gonna zoom in on my.
At some point, I'm sure, but
I'm gonna zoom in here.
I got notes.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous.
So here's kind of my justification for it. So it's a very talented, still young roster that just brought in a top quarterback. Now the question is, how many games is Deshaun Watson going to play? Which is why I don't have them higher. But I still think outside of that, they're still justified being at 11. This roster is just way too talented to not be in the top 12, and I like them better than the Cowboys. Now the Browns need to address the defensive line. They probably need to add a receiver, which I think can help climb this list. And that's maybe a post-draft conversation to see what they've done. Maybe some of those after the draft free agents that we see roll in, maybe they bring Jarvis back. With the Deshaun situation and the fact that they're still missing some key pieces, I can't put them higher than this. And I didn't want to be too overly biased as well. But having you say that they're also at 11 makes me actually feel a little bit better.
Yeah, listen, I mean, I think the roster still has a lot of talent on it. I think they also need to address the interior of their offensive line. I think they needed to add depth this year, and they didn't. They didn't retain. Losing Treader is a huge loss, in my opinion. He's probably a top 10 center in the league, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, I mean, and good offensive line is hard to come by, and I'm not a fan of letting them walk. I wasn't a fan of Whitworth walking. I wasn't a fan of Zeitler walking. You know, these guys that proven to be good at a very valuable, cheap position, relatively speaking, for their value is very cheap. Offensive linemen are cheap compared to wide receivers, compared to X, Y, and Z, right? When you think about
we signed Treader to like a 4-year contract. This was the last year of his deal. It was an escalating contract. It was the most money he was getting paid. Yeah. You know, it's just kind of what it is. That none of it was guaranteed. We were working on the Watson situation. We didn't know how the Baker thing was going to shake out. So without that, we really wouldn't have cap space right now.
The point I'm trying to make though is that they'd be higher if I didn't have these concerns. If Donovan Peoples-Jones wasn't your second best receiver, I'd have them higher. You know, I think he's good. I think he's got a ability to get a lot better, but I'm not convinced just after 1 year like I was with obviously like a Jamar Chase or a Jalen Waddle. You know, these guys that actually came out and lit it up in their first season. So DPJ's got a little bit of work to do, I think, but obviously, Amari Cooper is what he is. He's going to get you 985 to 1,100 yards, somewhere in that range. He's a relatively decent guy in terms of sure-handedness. He has had some drop problems in his past, but relatively pretty good. And obviously, you got the two-headed monster with Chubb and Hunt, and Watson is a question mark. So with all those things considered, I got the Browns at 11.
Yeah.
They're spoiler alert, second best team in the AFC North.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't even touch on the defense either, where you got Myles Garrett, Denzel Ward. Right. Greg Newsome was amazing last year as a rookie. So was Joke out of Notre Dame, flying around there. There's a lot of things to be excited about. The one thing I do want to mention, I know you're saying Treader, and that's all well and good. We drafted Nick Harris 2 years ago. That's kind of right when you drafted a center 2 years ago. You have this older guy.
Fill it in.
You got to exactly. And not only that, Bill Callahan is probably one of the most highly regarded offensive line coaches.
Yeah, his son is our offensive coordinator. They talk about it all the time.
Yeah, he is amazing at, taking decent players and making them perform way above their pay grade. So I'm not too worried about the Treader part of it. Not to mention, everybody else on that offensive line is going to be consistent. And Nick Harris, anytime that he had to come in, he was an absolute mauler.
Wow. So quick update here happening in the opening night of baseball. Top of the third, Reds up 2-0, bases loaded, 0 outs. What the fuck? But this is what they do. They're gonna come out looking great. They're gonna look pretty good through the first parts of spring, getting into summer. All-Star break is going to happen. It's going to be apparent what their needs are. This is a quick touch on baseball, and then we're getting back. I'm just exposing my heart. There are apparent needs of what they need at the All-Star break. As of last year, bullpen was the big need, and they just simply won't address it. They won't. And then they're going to fall apart in the back half. That's just what's going to happen. But go Reds. I'm still rooting for them. I hope we win. Keep me updated, Will. I am genuinely curious. I'm not trying to just dismiss that so nonchalantly like I did. It's just I'm hurting, and you were the recipient of that. All right. So Cleveland at number 11. If we go.
Well, here's the thing. Just for the sake of it, I need you to say 10 first, so it can't just be. Oh, I had.
Okay. All right. At number 10, I have the Los Angeles Chargers.
Okay. Thank God we are.
All right. We're different.
We're different.
All right, we're different. Okay, so I'm curious then, who do you have at 10?
I have the Tennessee Titans.
You have the Tennessee Titans at 10. So we're not too far off on where I have the Titans. I apparently, from the sound of your voice, we're pretty far off on where I got the Chargers listed. So
we are.
Okay, so that's interesting. I'm.
We'll get to where I have the. You go ahead first. I want you to talk about the Chargers at 10, or unless you want me to go Titans, and we can talk Chargers when I get to them.
Well, let's just genuinely talk Titans as of right now, and then we can go into where we have the Chargers. I think that's fine.
Okay. So for the Titans, I mean, obviously, the Julio thing didn't work out. I love the Woods acquisition. I think health, and more health is going to be the decision on the Titans for this year, and I think that's going to dictate it. You got Henry, AJ Brown, Robert Woods, all have injury concerns, and when you have, as we were just talking about, an average quarterback with Tannehill, you can't lose those weapons. So I think where I have the Titans at 10 is because I like them a little bit better than the Colts. I think one team is going to come out of that division. I don't think either one of those is going to earn a wild card spot. Like I said, this spot could have easily been the Colts for me, but I'm going to take the team that didn't lose to the Jags to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment. The reason why, though, I have the Chargers at 10 is because every year we'll sit there and talk about how great the Chargers are going to be and how great, I say every year, the last 2 seasons, how great Justin Herbert is going to be, all of these things. And then they just come up short. They start the year great. Oh, hi, Wilson. A little puppy. He's not so little anymore. Oh, he's a big boy. Oh, he's
look
a big
at those
boy.
paws.
Yeah. Look at the mitts on this kid. Look at the mitts on this kid.
That's a catcher right there.
Oh, there's a good boy. All right, you go see Mama. Get out of here. Oh, sorry about that. And I know I said we were going to talk about Titans, but I just went on this Chargers tear here. But get out of here. Silly dog. Anyway, the Chargers. That's distracting. The reason I have them there is because they continuously come up short. At the beginning of the season, I think they started 4-1. And then I think the back half of the season, they just absolutely fell apart to a point where they're in a playoff game before the season even ended against the Las Vegas Raiders, a team that on paper they should handle, right? If you're looking at this right now, the Chargers should handle the Raiders. It's just what should happen. But they don't. They come up short every single time because they continuously do not address the ability to defend the run. And they didn't do it this offseason. They have not addressed that need to be a run-stopping team. They went and got Khalil Mack. Cool. He's not a run stopper. He has one job, get quarterback.
I think they addressed the defense in general this offseason. So here's what I'll say. I think
they got J.C. Jackson, and Khalil Mack. Neither one can stop the run.
They still have Bosa. They still
doesn't stop the run.
They still have really good guys on that defense. So here's what I will say.
They were one of the worst defensive teams in football last year. The Chargers.
100%. But here's the thing: is I think it was more of a 2-year type plan for the Chargers. Right? They had no problem putting up points with anybody last year. I think Justin Herbert is an absolute gunslinger, top of his class quarterback in this league. I think he's going to be trajectory wise.
Could be Phillip Rivers.
They were basically trying to keep up points wise with the Chargers. And I think that job just became a little bit easier after the Chiefs they were trying to keep up with the Chiefs, and that job just became
Ryan, we'll get to your comment here a little bit later tonight. Appreciate it.
Not having to deal with Tyreek Hill anymore. Obviously, so Adams came into the league, Wilson came into the division. That's all well and good. We'll
get to him a little bit. We'll get to him in a little bit, and I'll address the Titans here in a little bit as well. So, all right. So now that we've had one difference,
Thank God.
I know we were flushed through 2, but now we're down to number 9. At number 9, who do you got?
I got the Broncos.
You got the Broncos in at number 9. I don't even have them in my top 12, but I do have another AFC West team. I have the Las Vegas
Interesting.
Raiders. Yeah.
Okay.
I have the Las Vegas Raiders in at 9. So tell me what you like about the Broncos. I'll tell you what I like about the Raiders.
So I think it was a very, very talented group of receivers that finally has someone who can actually get them the ball. Between Judy, Patrick, Sutton, I think that's probably. I'm not going to say one of the best wide receiver cores, but it's certainly going to be up there. And I think they had Drew Lock be a detriment to that team. I think one of the biggest things too was when you have a trade for somebody like Wilson, it's usually picks and a player. And the fact that they were able to keep Surtain in that was huge. They had a defense that was a very, very solid group last year that I think was, unfortunately, if you look at rankings wise, I think lacked the fact that the Broncos were one of the worst offensive teams because, again, I didn't really like Drew Lock. So it was, the defense is constantly on the field covering up the blemishes of the offense, but still kind of kept them in some games and made them a little bit frisky. Now, is Wilson on the back 9 of his career? Maybe. So maybe did they give up too much for him over the rest of his contract? Maybe. But next year, I think the Broncos, for that first year that they have him, I like what they did, and Wilson finally being away from Seattle. Is he finally going to be allowed to cook?
And that's I'm concerned about Russell Wilson, to be honest with you. I don't know that he'll necessarily be back to what he was. I don't have that confidence. I didn't feel, he had a bad team in Seattle. Like there's no doubt about that, but he had a lot of weapons too. And I don't feel that Russell Wilson elevated his team that much. Now, will the Seahawks be worse this year? Yeah, they have Drew Lock right now being their quarterback. Like, is Russell Wilson better than Drew Lock? Yes, that's easy to say. But it didn't feel to me that this season in particular. I know he's banged up a little bit, but we don't make excuses here on Line to Gain, right? Baker Mayfield doesn't get that pass. Russell Wilson's not going to get that pass either. You played. We're going to judge you by how you play. And yeah. I think it was pretty poor, right? I didn't think they played well. He didn't look good. He didn't throw the ball accurately. So I'm not saying that that's going to happen again this season. I'm just saying the jury's out, and I'm not going to make a decision on that. And that's why I can't put the Broncos up there just yet.
Yeah, but do you remember that it was like first 5-6 weeks of the season before Wilson got injured, and it was like such a big deal that we're like, did you know that Russell Wilson has never gotten a first place MVP vote? Like, and then it's like, okay, fine, go back and do the math and tell me what year he was better than him. But like those first 5-6 weeks of the season before he actually went down,
he was an MVP candidate.
He was playing it.
So was Kyler Murray.
Yeah, exactly. No. I'm saying I still think Wilson. I think what the Broncos gave up.
Is Kyler Murray a top 5 quarterback in the league though?
He was for a little while, yeah.
Yeah, at the beginning of the season every year. That's the Cardinals though. That's what I mean. It's like at the end of the season, who did we consider a top even 10 quarterback? I mean, there are people making the argument that Kyler's not there.
Champ. You know what I mean? I'll take the guy who's won a Super Bowl.
Sure.
And for the Broncos, who have had actually really, really good rosters, that since Peyton Manning has left, that the quarterback position has been, a complete void in the team.
Can't draft a quarterback.
Yeah. And fine. You want to talk about Wilson in 3 or 4 years, that's fine. But these are the power rankings for the 22-23 season. So that's really what I'm worried about. And I just think that the Broncos are going to surprise some people next year. I think 3 teams get out of that division. I still have 2 more above this right now in that division.
Wow. Interesting. Loaded. I got the Raiders in at 9. I think the Raiders didn't get worse this offseason. Let's put it that way. Mm-hmm. They made themselves to the playoffs, and they went out and got Devontae Adams. I think that is almost a more talented receiving core than Denver in Las Vegas, with Devontae Adams, Darren Waller, and Hunter Renfrow. Not to mention a backfield that consists of Josh Jacobs. I think Kenyon Drake, I believe, is one of the running backs as well. Like, they've got some weapons on offense. They're not in the poorhouse when it comes to options for Derek Carr. And Derek Carr is kind of like a little bit better than Andy Dalton, in my opinion. Like, if he has the right weapons around him, he can be really effective and make good decisions. So I think, and not to mention that defense is good, guys.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And I think they have one of the better pass rushes in that division outside of the Chargers, obviously. So I think it's a really promising team, but I think the shortcoming why they're not higher on this list for me is actually because of Derek Carr, because he is that Andy Dalton. He is that kind of middle of the road, the line that you judge other quarterbacks on. Like, is he better than Derek Carr or worse? Should we extend him or not? Like, that's the line. Him and like Tannehill, right?
So the interesting thing is our last 3 picks. Let's throw the Titans out of it, right? You had the Chargers at 10. I had the Broncos. You had the Raiders. We're all talking about the same division, right? So I think that's extremely interesting. Power rankings are funny though, because it's all subjective to where. Do I think the Raiders have a top 12 roster? I think you can argue that. I have no problem hearing that, and I'm not going to sit here and go, well, that's fucking stupid.
You didn't say it once when I was talking.
No, exactly. I don't have any problem. I don't have any problem with you putting the Raiders at 9, 10, 11, or 12. The thing that comes down to it is I have the Broncos here. I have 2 other AFC West teams in my power rankings, something's
You
got to
don't
give
have
you.
the Raiders. Yeah, you don't have the
You
Raiders.
can't put 4 teams in the same division in the top 12. It just math. Like it won't work like that.
And I made the choice not to put the Broncos
Yeah.
as I alluded to earlier. All right. So I'm going to go with my number 8 team, a team that we've already talked about. I have the Titans here at number 8.
Okay.
Who do you have?
I have the Niners.
49ers. Interesting. So let's put a bow on the Titans. Why I have them at 8. Aaron has them at 10. Two spots different, not that much difference in what we're going with here. But the Titans are a team that I think can still win that division. Listen, they're still going to get the Jags twice, and they're going to get the Texans twice.
Right.
It's going to be up to the Colts. And I think there's going to be knockdown, drag-out games against the Colts. Again, they're kind of in that same vein as the Raiders. They've got a lot of solid weapons on offense. They've got one of the best safeties in the league. They've got really good pass rush that does a lot of tricky stuff on the stunts. They got Ryan Tannehill, though. So that's, again, why I've got Titans at 8. They're a good team. They're going to make the playoffs. Do I see them competing for a Super Bowl this year? No, I do not. So, Aaron, you have the 49ers coming in here.
Yeah. So, I mean, I certainly have my doubts about Trey Lance, but I also think there's something to be said about just getting a year's worth of seeing the speed of the NFL, just under your sleeve, and we'll see how that goes. But I think everything outside of Trey Lance on that roster is so good. And this team always plays above their weight class. I mean, you saw Shanahan get Garoppolo to the Super Bowl. You saw him drag him into the playoffs last year. I think Lance is absolutely the wild card. And depending on his performance, I actually view this team as a dark horse Super Bowl contender.
I like dark hole Super Bowl contender. That's a good one. It's pretty sweet. No, I don't have him on my list, to be honest with you.
Really?
Yeah, I don't, because I'm questioning. I don't know about Trey Lance right now. He is a question mark for me. Yeah, he could be really good, but I view him as like a rookie point, like 1.5. This is his 1.5 season. It's still kind of a rookie though. He hasn't started a full season or played most games actually under his belt. So he's still kind of a rookie with some game experience, but I think it's going to be interesting to see how he manages an entire game. I don't think it's crazy that they're here at 8 on your side. And you're right. They are kind of a team that, increasingly surprises people. At the beginning of the season, I thought that there'd be 3 teams, beginning of last season, 3 teams that made it out of the NFC West last year. Turns out I was right, but I didn't think that it was going to be the Seahawks looking like a dumpster fire, getting one of those teams in. And if I'm not the Niners, they were in the NFC Championship game last year. So
right.
Something to be said about that. I can appreciate them. And I could honestly actually admit that that's a miss by me not even having them in here. So interesting.
The one thing I'll say too, though, is we both admitted that we have our doubts about Trey Lance, but what has Shanahan always done to the frustration of fantasy football owners is he's made absolute nothing out of running backs. And I think Trey Lance is he's going to be an athletic run first type quarterback. So it'll be interesting to see how Shanahan incorporates that run game with a run first quarterback, which Garoppolo is not. And
well, it doesn't help that Raheem Mostert is literally made of glass.
Yeah, but then you go to the 4th guy on that depth chart, and he's still coming in and being just as effective.
Well, Trey Sermon apparently sucked, and apparently no one liked him, I guess, on that team because they didn't play him.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, but it's not even a Mostert or it's I don't know who the guy is going to be at the running back position, but every year, like 1, 2, and 3 on the depth chart ends up making some noise, and then somehow the 4th guy does too because of injury. It's insane, and I think that the reason I'm so high on them is because of the athleticism of Trey Lance, because I think Shanahan's going to just absolutely milk that. And
I took him on a stringer at a last pick in our dynasty draft last year, and I'm hopeful. I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong about that. I hope he pans. It's not that I'm doubting it. Actually, it's just I don't know. There's a question mark there, and I'm not willing to to solidify them there yet because of that. I think like Jimmy is a winner. Like Jimmy Garoppolo wins football games, guys. Like that's that's true. Whether you think he's amazing or not, or he's a douchebag or a playboy or whatever, he wins football games though more often than he doesn't, and he does it in an efficient manner, completing about 67% of his passes. Like he's not a bad quarterback. So I think it'll be interesting for that as well. So, but yeah, I like the 49ers there at 8. That makes a lot of sense. At 7, I got the Indianapolis Colts.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah. So when I took the Titans, I basically was like, I think you could put the Colts here and I would have no issue with it. Mm-hmm. And when you break down the division, I just can't put two teams in that division in this. But well, I guess also who beats up on the beat up on the Jags and the Texans. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing I really, really like about the Colts, I mean, it's been their Achilles heel for a while now. They have a really good offensive line. They've got Michael Pittman Jr. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor is the best, if not the second best running back in the league. I think Derrick Henry still takes that crown, but I think Taylor gets a nod as well out of being the rushing champ last year. Absolutely electric. And I think they're really a couple of pieces away in terms of weapons, which they can add this draft. From being a team that can really bust out on the scene over the next couple of years. No one went into Indianapolis and just kicked them around last season, even with Carson Wentz. Right. And he was really handicapping them and holding them back. I think the Colts win this division, and I think they look to make a run in the playoffs. So I got the Colts in at 7.
Yeah, and again, that's interesting. I think – okay, so we're both on the same page that we think that the AFC West is the best division in football next year. Can we agree on that?
Yeah, right now I think that makes a lot of sense to say that. Yeah.
So that is who the AFC South plays next year. So great, you have the Texans, you have the Texans twice and you have the Jaguars twice. But you also have the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Raiders.
I guess I didn't take schedule into account of this other than division. I was just basing off of what the roster looks like, what I feel how the team is going to be talent wise. Like could they beat the teams below? Like I think the Colts can beat the Titans in my opinion, right? Like I think they can beat the Raiders. Like these are that's how I kind of went about this. Right. Who do you have at 7?
I have the Packers at 7.
Okay.
And before I get into that, I just want to just tie a bow on what we were just talking about there. I think power rankings, the way too early power rankings are extremely fun because you can kind of make it whatever you want it. I kind of gave a little bit more value to teams that I think have a chance to win the Super Bowl. The playoffs. Okay. Not make the playoffs, win the Super Bowl because they might have an easier route to get there.
Right.
Or their teams are just so goddamn like the Cowboys, for instance. I didn't even really want to put them in there, but it was just like, God, who the hell is going to win the NFC East?
They're winning 6 games at least.
Next thing you know, they're in the NFC Championship game, right? So especially right now when actual
got to win a playoff game first.
It's all these hypothetical things going on in your head. So, do you value roster talent over an easier chance to get in, or do you know what I mean? It's all subjective to however you want to view what a power rankings is. So I think that's the really fun part of this exercise where you have the Colts here not high, but 7, where I don't even have them on my list because I'm like, well, they're playing the AFC West and I'm kind of over Matt Ryan at this point. I don't really think he's that.
I mean, he's a former MVP. He went to the Super Bowl. I think he's got a lot of ability. He didn't have a bad season last year either. They just honestly, the Falcons had nothing. They had nothing. If Cordell Patterson is your best weapon, you're fucked. Like that's.
Yeah, but it's like he was a former MVP, but like the ship has kind of sailed since that. The guy's never been the same since the Patriots came back and beat him.
I would argue that that's the same thing for Russell Wilson. Hasn't won a playoff game in 3 years.
Yeah. Okay. I don't even really have. I just because the same argument I was going to say is I kind of just like the change of scenery for him. So you can make the same argument for You can make the same argument for Ryan. And I was about to say it, and I was like, you're gonna sound like a fucking asshole.
Hey, Brain, good job. Good job, boy.
Yeah, I have the Packers at 7. obviously the Adams thing is why they came down here, and it's maybe a little bit overreactionary because, let's face it, it's fresh in our mind. We haven't seen games yet. The last time we've seen Rodgers, it's, stumbling in the playoffs, losing to Jimmy Garoppolo and the 49ers.
Yeah.
And here's the thing. Rodgers is probably the best regular season quarterback in the league. And there's something to be said about that. And like I said, it's just all about getting to the playoffs for me and maybe potentially the Super Bowl, because you got to do one of those before you can get to the other. And I just don't see a single other team even barking at their door when it comes to that division.
No,
Vikings,
not even
exactly.
Close. I mean, the Vikings kinda, I guess, maybe.
Yeah, but they're not really. They might
first year head coach.
Wild card,
you know what I
right,
mean?
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm just not too worried about their competition.
Right.
Again, the loss of Adam hurts them, but I think Rodgers does a really good job of making up that difference. We'll see what they do in the draft. I think if they could somehow get a guy like Olave or something like that, I think that'll get really frisky. Obviously, they lost Valdez-Scantling. But I just think Rodgers.
Chiefs, right?
What's that?
Chiefs.
Yeah, right. I just think Rodgers covers up too many warts in the regular season to not have them, right here.
Yeah, and it's interesting you have them because I actually have them at 6. I got the Packers coming in at 6. I think for a lot of the same reasons, they're the third highest NFC team that I have ranked on here. I think that they're a cakewalk division. Obviously, great regular season record. Might get the first overall seed in terms of the NFC playoff. Get that first round bye. But I can't put them higher on this list because of their inability to perform lately in the postseason.
That's kind of where I'm at too.
Yeah, and I think that there are other teams that in the NFC that I have ranked higher that have proven it. So who do you have at 6?
You're gonna hate me, but I have the Bengals. Wow. I have the Bengals at 6. I think they've done a lot. This year addressing the offensive line. There's something about the Super Bowl runner-up part of it to me, as well as the fact that I think the AFC is going to be extremely tight when it gets down to the ropes. I just want to see Burrow do it one more year before I crown him as.
Haven't seen enough.
No, it's not that. Listen, no. I've been on this podcast and said I think Burrow is a franchise quarterback. I think he is one of the top young guys in this league. There's nothing about Burrow that I question his talent. I kind of just want to see him. We saw him get injured his rookie year. He's going into his third year. I think he's done nothing but show the world that he was worthy of the number 1 pick. Part of this, and I'm kind of just baking into the fact of being the Super Bowl runner-up with the fact that they were in week 17, potentially not even being in the playoffs, So remember there were 18 weeks this year. So
yeah.
That is a fact.
They controlled their own destiny, though. Let's be very clear. They controlled
their own destiny, and they did it. But teams that are running away with it, like teams below this,
like the Titans.
No, but listen here, man. Like the Packers, they had no issue getting into the playoffs. They had anything like that. And again, what I told you,
and they lost.
We're now at this point in the power rankings where it's not about can you get into the playoffs? All of these teams should be getting into the playoffs. It's now what is your path to the Super Bowl? And for the Bengals, I think it gets a lot tighter. I just really want to see one more year of what they showed us last year in the playoffs, because I don't think they consistently showed us that in the regular season.
Katie's saying peace up, A-Town down. She's actually singing Usher right now. You just can't hear. But I'm gonna withhold a lot of my comments because I have them higher in the power rankings, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about that. But the one thing I will say, just in your comment of Burrow, and you want to see one more. Here's one thing to keep in mind about this: Joe Burrow's first off season, COVID, no team in-person meetings, no touching the team, none of that. There was a hindrance there in comparison.
No touching the team.
Yeah, no touching the team. Like hands on center's balls. Like it didn't happen. Get this dog out of here. Second off season, handling a knee injury. No real off season, right? This is his first true off season, preparing with the team. Get this damn dog. Go on. I love him too, but Daddy's working. Go on. Fucking vermin. Sorry. This is his first true off season of just honing his craft. That's the only thing he's really focused on. Not learning the offense from a remote perspective, doing Zoom meetings. Not let's rehab this knee to make sure that I can even fucking play. It's what do I have to get better at? And I think the thing that we haven't, you had mentioned the Super Bowl runner-up. This is the type of human being where that is nothing but fuel to the fire. You just thrown gasoline on a bonfire. And I think I'm just
humming Metallica in my head right now. So forgive
me. I pray for the rest of the AFC, and we'll get to that in a little bit.
So let me just touch on this real quick, right? So the Bengals made the playoffs, and again, it was pretty tight towards the end last year, right? Can we both agree on that?
It was tight on.
They controlled their destiny, and they did it.
They did it with the AFC, and they did it.
But they did it as the fourth place schedule in the AFC North. Now they have to take the first place schedule from the AFC North. I think there's something to be said about that as well. So you're not just getting the cakewalk. Not a cakewalk.
The Bills,
right?
Who else?
And then what would be the Titans?
The Titans. Who else are we worried about?
We have the AFC or the NFC, whatever top division for them, right? Because with the 18th game. I don't know what division it is next year, but you have to play the team that finished in first place in their division. If you want to pull up the Bengals schedule.
No, I'm sorry. So I'm just trying to figure out who it is. So we play the entire AFC East.
We're playing the East anyway. So
the Titans, Chiefs, and I'm sorry, you already went over that. Yeah, Titans.
Yeah, and then it's either going to be the Packers, the Rams. We play the NFC South.
I believe we play the Rams. We play the Buccaneers. Well,
we all play the Bucs.
Oh, it's NFC South. Okay, I don't have it on top, but the point being, the Bengals are going to.
So they have to go through the first place schedule now.
Sure.
So I really do think there's something to be said about that. I don't think I don't think this is a knock on the Bengals. It is hey, shit, you guys showed us a lot last year. That's really, really awesome. Just show me a little bit more before I go and say, hey,
win the Super Bowl instead of just get there, right?
I mean, no, not necessarily that.
I'm fucking with you. I know you're being genuine. I'm just trying to pick a fight.
But like when the Rams lost, when the 49ers lost, those teams typically take a step back rather than a step forward because you now have to go against the big dogs. And again, I'm not saying that the Bengals aren't there. If looking at my power rankings, I'm saying that they're the best team right now on paper in the AFC North. I'm not questioning the fact that this team shouldn't be back in the playoffs. I'm just questioning the fact that with such a young team, are you going to be able to now do the top schedule in the NFL? Great, you guys did it as the basement to the attic, and that's awesome. But now you guys got to stay up there.
Sure. And we'll cover the Bengals a little bit more later. I do have them in a little bit higher in my power rankings, so we'll address.
I knew that was going to be our tangent for sure.
And we'll get a little bit more into it for sure. I can appreciate it. So I've gone first the last couple of times. I'm interested. Who do you have coming in at number 5 in your way too early pre-draft power rankings?
I have the Chiefs.
As do I.
So
as do I. I'm interested. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Mahomes covers up so many faults. It really doesn't matter what the rest of your roster is. There is no chance I was going to put this team outside of the top 5. And again, the way too early power rankings are going to have us overreacting to some of the moves, like losing Tyreek Hill. I don't really like Juju Smith-Schuster that much anymore. The Valdez-Scantling thing is an interesting piece where you got some downfield opportunities. That's great.
Who do you have to double team on that team? No one.
Nobody.
Other than Travis Kelce.
I think teams adjusted a lot last year, and we saw it in the beginning of the year where the Chiefs were struggling. They were like 3-4, 4 and 5, and then they turned it on, right? So I think Mahomes is just Madden talent ability where you're like, all right, let me just turn it on now. Let me lean forward in the chair.
Right.
I'm going to start paying attention.
And that was really, honestly, though, like the reason that they looked really bad, a lot of it was due to him at the beginning of the season. He didn't look good.
Yeah, so we were starting his rookie year, and then of course his second year when they won the Super Bowl. We were like, all right, this is the next dynasty. It is so hard to stay on top of that mountain. I think he covers up for a lot, but he's also taking a lot, in order to have him on the team. And his salary hasn't even really kicked in yet. It's going to kick in when the new TV money does. There's no way I'm keeping a Mahomes quarterback team out of the top 5 until I'm told otherwise.
Yeah, until you're proven otherwise. They've proven they're top 4 the last 4 years.
Kelce has just been an Iron Man, and I'm not betting against his health by any means, but like
he's due.
He's due.
I said the same thing for Dak Prescott, literally like right before the season started, before he got hurt.
Yeah, so I'm just listen. I think they're probably going to win that division. This is probably just a little overreactionary for the Hill trade, but I think
I can't believe you have the Chargers this high. Just anyway, go ahead.
That's totally fine. Yeah, I mean, well, that's pretty much it on the Chiefs. They're just
no. They're I think they're a solid team, and I think that they've proven that. And like you said, until I'm proven otherwise, I'm not going to bet against them. It's just depend unless they're playing Joe Burrow. But at number 4, I have the Buffalo Bills here at number 4. Who do you have?
I have the Chargers.
You got the Chargers at 4. Wow. All right. So let me update this. Go ahead and talk to me why you're. I think you're really high on the Chargers.
I'm really high.
A team that hasn't made the playoffs. That hasn't made the playoffs since Phillip Rivers was their quarterback, and you got them as the 4th best team. They're going to in your opinion, they're in the AFC Championship game. Minimum. Minimum according to your rankings.
Yeah, but again, the
they're either your highest AFC team or your second highest AFC team.
Yeah, but the bracket doesn't always shake out that way. You know what I mean?
Okay, all right. Well, you think that they're that good?
So I think they loaded up on a struggling defense last year. I really do. You're talking about, are they going to be able to defend the run? Look, what did that division just do? They're trying to keep contending with Pat Mahomes and trying to put up points at the way that they're going to. I think their offense is just insane. And I know we talked about this last time that I was on. Justin Herbert to me is the cream of the crop of the young quarterback. He's right above Burrow for me, personally. And I really, really, really like Justin Herbert a lot. I think he is an absolute, I'm going to just throw the ball 80 yards with ease. Guy's going to catch it right in his fucking lap.
Yeah.
And like I said, the Chiefs, I think, might take a step back, and I'm not confident enough in that to keep them outside of the top 5. But I think the Chargers are the team in that division that are best suited to take advantage of that. And I really, again, I'm going to say this, I'm going to keep saying this. I love Justin Herbert.
You like Justin Herbert. Yeah, I got it. Yeah. No, I think Justin Herbert's good. He's not I think he's proven that he is going to be a starter in this league for a long time. I question their ability to perform as a team. I guess it would be when it matters the most, because they haven't done it. Like they've come out hot at the last 2 seasons with Justin Herbert. Like, holy shit, the Chargers are really, really good. And then they don't make the playoffs. Like, what happens? I think we lose it somewhere in the middle of the season where like they're losing games at the same rate, if not more, than they're winning games in the middle of the end of the season, and nobody notices it. Yeah, they're really good on paper. They should be really good, but let's not forget they just spent a lot of money on a wide receiver who, statistically speaking, is on the downturn. It's going to happen here in the next couple of years. Mike Williams, statistically speaking, is going to start regressing. Now, can they let that contract go in the couple seasons? Yeah, sure. I just
that's not what the power rankings are. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about the year after. I'm not worried.
Right. No. I understand that. But the point I'm trying to make is the Chargers, we talked about the Chiefs. We're going to put them in the top until they prove it otherwise. I'm not putting the Chargers in the top until they prove it otherwise. And they haven't.
So I will admit this is probably, you can't make a power rankings and just kind of chalk it, right? So I absolutely probably bumped up the Chargers because that's my bold prediction, right?
Right.
That's the one where I'm like, and I'm, am I going to be wrong and maybe have to eat some crow?
You could call them the Colts mine, right? A team that didn't
Right.
even make the
That's the
playoffs. They
one
got
that
about 7. Right.
I'm probably the least confident in of where I have them. Could I have had them 8? Could I have had them 7? Could I have had them wherever I want? I'm high on the Chargers. That's just kind of where I'm at. And I was just basically trying to reflect that in my power rankings. And yeah, that's a little bit of a bold prediction, but if we weren't doing bold predictions, then why the fuck are we talking?
What are we doing? What are we doing here? Give them what they want, eh? Give them what they want. I got the Bills in at 4. I think the Bills are going to continue to be a problem as long as they have Josh Allen and they're playing, like you said, in that division. The Bills have proven that they are a top tier team. They have a top 5, if not top 3 quarterback, at least top 3 in the AFC. I think we can say that about Josh Allen. And as long as you have that piece solidified, I think the Bills are somebody that you're going to have to deal with. They just got Von Miller as well, improving the pass rush aspect of their defense, which is something that they've needed to address. They've tried to address it. Love it. I mean, it's a ridiculous contract that'll never be upheld for the lifetime of it, but that's
not what we're worried about for this year for power rankings.
But, well, not even that. It's not for power rankings, but just from the sense of the Bills that contract will not see the end of its days. It'll get traded, cut, released, something like that, right? Anyway, but yeah, I mean, they've tried to address the pass rush in the draft, and it just hasn't panned out that way. And now they're doing it by going and getting a surefire name that they know that can produce for them. So I think it's a great signing for the Bills. I think Von Miller is going to eat it up in Buffalo. The fans are going to love him. It's a perfect fit. So I'm excited to see what the Bills are going to be able to do this year, rooting for them all the way up into the AFC Championship game.
I root for everybody that city lies on Lake Erie. You got the Browns, you got the Bills, you got the Lions. I love them.
Well, technically, Detroit lies on the Detroit River. All right.
Don't.
Anyway,
don't do that.
Don't just don't be yourself. So that's at 4. Who do you have at number 3?
I got the Bucks. I got Tampa Bay.
I do too.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think it's pretty easy call for me. It's kind of going back to what we just said about the Packers, except easier. You take a look at that division, and Tom Brady can, fuck off for 2 quarters, and it really isn't going to matter.
He can fuck off for the first 4 weeks, actually.
Yeah, like the Bruce Arians thing does not concern me at all. I actually think those two didn't like each other. But it's a deep roster, and they brought back the GOAT. Again, there's no team in that division that's going to contend with them, and it's weaker. It's the
they lost to the Super Bowl. Yeah, it is, and they lost to the Super Bowl champs by a fantastic drive.
And you almost had another Brady amazing comeback, which is what I love. And hey, can Tom continue to fight time? I don't know. But
until he proves it otherwise. So my only concern is this going to be Michael Jordan unretiring and being a wizard? I don't think so. I just don't think so. No.
I just think he keeps proving Father Time is a bitch.
Yeah, TV12, baby. Water. And just
avocado ice cream.
And just relax before you get hit. That's all you have to do. That's how you stay uninjured. You Gumby is what he did.
Right.
And just take it. And that's Tom Brady does. He's good at taking it.
I think the NFC South is a joke, and that's why I have them this.
It is. It's clearly a joke. I mean, your number 1 quarterback's Marcus Mariota outside of Tom Brady. Okay, good luck. Have fun with that one. Who you got number 2?
I got the Bills.
Got the Bills at number 2.
I got the Bills. I got the Bills as the class of the AFC. Again, not a super strong division outside of the Patriots, which I said at the beginning, I probably would have had them at 12 if it wasn't for the fact that the Cowboys were playing the Eagles, the Commanders, and the Giants all year. But Josh Allen just kind of continues to ascend, and that was my biggest draft blunder of all time. I was like, this guy's going to fucking suck. And the reason I said this is because he had a 50% completion percentage in college, and that's the part for quarterbacks that actually translates. And somehow the Bills really figured it out because they were like, all right, this guy had a 10% completion percentage downfield. They bring in a guy like Stephon Diggs, re-up him, make sure he's happy. And boy, is that just a match made in heaven. And boy, are they just super, super fun to watch. I think Josh Allen is, we've seen mobile quarterbacks before where you're like, all right, well, this isn't going to keep working. But the guy is just built like an absolute freight train, and it's just different. You know what I mean? I'm not worried about the injury part of it because the guy is just built like a brick shithouse. And
Yeah.
then I really like the Von Miller ad. Listen, the guy has been actually insanely healthy, for his whole career, and he's 33. Did they pay too much over the life of the contract? Yeah, but what we keep saying for the power rankings is this isn't the 24 power rankings. This isn't the 25. I don't give a shit about any of that right now.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
Von Miller can come in and be a big piece of that. And they already had a really good defense. You know, Stephon Diggs, I think Gabriel Davis showed a lot last year to be a number 2. And listen, I think Josh Allen has proved me wrong enough that I just gotta believe in him. I'm putting him at number 2.
Gotcha. This is where I got him. I got him as the second best team in the NFL. I got the Cincinnati Bengals there at number 2.
I'm fine. I'm fine with the Bengals.
Listen. Here,
I can't have the Bills over the Bengals.
Okay, well that's fine. I can appreciate that, and the reason why is because when it was coming down to Chiefs or Bills, I wanted the Chiefs to win because that's who I wanted in the AFC Championship game. I would have rather played the Chiefs than I would have the Bills. One of the reasons being is because the Bengals beat them in Week 17,
right?
Down 21 points, came back and won. They did it again against the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. For that reason, I cannot put the Chiefs above the Bengals. I can't do it. Did the Bengals get worse or did the Chiefs get worse this offseason? The Chiefs, to me, got worse this offseason, in my opinion. Last season, I wouldn't have had the Chiefs at 5. There's no way. I would have said they were a top 2 team in the league, if not number 1 going into the season. They were the odds-on favorite to win the Super Bowl. I think they got worse. Did the Bengals get worse this offseason? No, they got better. There's no question in my mind that the Bengals got better. They really –
the Chiefs have proven that they can go through that number 1 schedule. That's
sure.
The only thing that comes out of me.
Okay, sure. And I think the Bengals have proven that they can beat people. They can beat anybody. Anybody in this league, they can beat them. Anybody. There's not a team in this league that they cannot beat. And they've proven that. And the back to what I was saying is there was really only one glaring weakness in this entire team. There's only one. The offensive line. That was it. It wasn't the pass rush. It wasn't the secondary. Could Eli Apple be better? Yeah, he could be better, but he was also one of the top-rated corners in man coverage. Eli fucking Apple was. We resurrected him from the dead. This is Undertaker coming back and playing corner for the Bengals. I don't see how they could be ranked low in this, and you don't have them low. They're competing for an AFC championship, in my opinion, where your rankings are, right? And they've addressed this offensive line in a way that they're at least average. And if Joe Burrow can drag that team into a Super Bowl with a bottom 3rd offensive line, and now you're telling me we've got at least middle of the road, that's scary, man. You give Joe Burrow time, that's insane, because there's nobody in the AFC, in my opinion, that processes a defense better than Joe Burrow. There's not. And he's proven that much at least. So that's why I got him at 2. I'm high on him, and I think we both have a consensus number 1 overall. It's the defending Super Bowl champs, the Los Angeles Rams.
Before we get into the Rams, can I just
I'm sorry. Yeah. Go ahead.
A couple points you made. I think me having the Chargers above the Bengals is going to upset you more than the Chiefs and the Bills. You know what I mean? I don't think in a realistic conversation –
I think a little bit of that has to do with the fact that Herbert and Burrow were drafted in the same class. They will forever be tied to each other, forever.
Right.
And I think Justin Herbert does throw better. He's got the stats that are better.
Burrow has that moxie, though.
It's the shit that you can't measure, that it's like, I will do whatever you want me to do, and we are going to go do this. I do think if you had to ask a free agent, which quarterback would you rather play for? I think they're going to say Joe Burrow. Nothing else considered. If you had to ask which one you would rather be on as your quarterback, I think more people would say Joe Burrow. I'm not saying all of them, but I think more people would.
So I've already mentioned the schedule thing enough. I'm not going to keep beating a dead horse. So let's dial it back to the beginning of last year, right? Mm-hmm. I think there were, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but a number of Bengals fans that were ready to get rid of Zach Taylor. They had seen enough. Let's move on from this.
I think, and so I will correct you, because I don't think so. My floor for the Bengals going into this season was 7. That was my floor. If they only won 6 games, Zach Taylor should have been fired. That was my opinion. So there was a mark. It wasn't. I don't think a majority. I think there was a loud group that made that point clear. But for the most part, I think most Bengals fans thought we've got what we've. I think we've got a lot of good things in place. Let's see if we take another step forward. Did we think it would be a giant leap to the fucking Super Bowl? No. But nonetheless, let's see if we can take a step forward. Can we compete for the division? Can we get to the playoffs? Compete for a playoff spot? I think that was the real mark. We didn't expect this giant leap though.
So just personally, I just think you have the Bengals too high, and part of the reason is we both have the Rams at number 1. We have the Bills at right around the same spot. We have the Bucs at the same spot, right? Because I don't really think realistically, outside of catastrophic injury, there's another team within their division that is even contending for that number 1 spot that I'm that worried about. Hey, maybe the Rams, 49ers, and I don't know, the Cardinals, but probably not. I guess my point is I think there's going to be a lot more volatility in the North, especially with I like I said when I was talking about the Bengals when I made my pick. I just want to see a little bit more. And it's not a knock against the Bengals. I think I love Joe Burrow. I hate it. I hate Joe Burrow because he's in my division.
Yeah.
But he's such a likable guy. He's like a guy who can complete at a high 60s, low 70s clip. Like it's insane what he can do with the football. I just want to see a little bit more. The offensive line thing too. It takes a while for those guys to gel. It's not just plug and play Madden style. This guy's an 86, this guy's an 82 kind of thing.
That's fair.
That takes a second to get into place. So let's see. And I don't think you have them insanely high. I just think you're a Bengals fan, and I think you put them a little high.
I think that's fair to say. I'm not going to blow that off.
Like, I'll be honest, when I put the Browns at 11, I thought I was being a little biased.
I reassured
that's why I said
you
I'm surprised.
That. No,
that's
I reassured you.
That's why I was surprised you had them there.
So I think if you average where we've got them, you've got them at 6, I got them at 2. They're about a 4, is what we could probably say. Maybe even a 5. Totally, yeah. So I think that's maybe I do have them a little high, and I think more often than not when you watch the pundits, coming in with things, they've got the Bengals sitting right around 4 is probably where most of them have them. The big thing that I was really going through with this is which teams do I think regressed and which got better comparatively to what they did last year. And it seems like your approach really to the power rankings was, okay, they're going to have to go through this. That being said, the only rebuttal to that is that the NFL is designed for you not to be on top consistently. Mm-hmm. I think the Dolphins are going to give the Bills a fair shake in a lot of these games. I think that's going to happen. I think the Dolphins, if the Dolphins split with the Bills next year, would you just like ridiculous? No, I'd bet my house that they wouldn't do that. No, you wouldn't do it. It's the NFL. No, like it's the NFL, right? No, yeah. Most of these games are decided by less than a touchdown. More often than not, most of these games are less than 10 points, we'll say, right?
I'll put it to you this way. I was pretty confident the Bengals weren't going to make the playoffs last year. I wouldn't have bet my house on it. And fuck, they made the Super Bowl. And I don't think at the beginning of last season, anyone would have thought I was. That's what everyone else said. The Bengals were projected to end 4th in that division. And that's the funnest fucking part about the NFL. And that's why this is the way too early power rankings.
For what it's worth, I had the Steelers there. I had the Bengals at 3rd. I had the Browns winning the division with the Ravens at the 2nd. I had the Browns losing in the divisional round to the Bills, who would lose to the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. So, for what it's worth. And then we got the Rams at number 1. I mean, this is a team that the biggest knock that I'll give for the Rams is they let Bobby Trees walk. How could you? First of all, how dare you? Second of all,
Allen Robinson.
And then I'm gonna get there, but I'm just talking. Well, they're different. They're different wide receivers, though.
For sure.
Yeah. But another big thing is Andrew Whitworth is gone. The guy that they have replacing him has played the position a bit in his stead at times, but how much of a fall is that? Super Bowl hangover. You have to question it, right? I think there is something to be said about that. The drive isn't unless you're Tom Brady and you're a freak of nature, right, or Bill Belichick and you're a psychopath, that there's something to be said about Super Bowl teams repeating. It's tough. Not a lot of
Even in
teams
those
do it.
Brady's years, there was a lot of times where it was like, yeah, we're 10-6, we're 11-5, we're going to get there, it's fine. But once the playoffs start, it's a whole different animal. It's kind
Yeah.
of like the LeBron James effect.
Well, that was the Rams. That was the Rams this last year. I mean, they were on the verge of not winning their division. If you want to go that route, like we talked about with the Bengals,
Yeah, but they didn't have that, championship to hold their hat on, is what I mean.
What? Oh, so the Bengals did. The Bengals didn't. Okay. Is that
no, the Rams didn't. The Rams, like Sean McVay, Matt Stafford, none of those guys had won a championship.
Right, but what I mean is, what my point was is that at the end of the season, the Rams hadn't clinched the division until the last game of the season. It was a playoff game against the 49ers in week 18 for them to win the division, and they had to beat them in SoFi to do so, and they did. So right. just pointing, like just saying that was a point for the Bengals. The Rams have that as well. They're in a division where they're going to get fought. Like it's not going to they're not just going to walk through the Arizona, right? They're not just going to walk through the 49ers. So just something to be said about that. But at the end of the day, I mean, the additions that they've made, yes, they lost Von Miller, replaced it with Bobby Wagner. They lost Robert Woods. They replaced it with Allen Robinson. Now they have I think Allen Robinson, in my opinion, is one of the most scorned wide receivers in the history of the NFL. Resident of Orchard Lake, Michigan. Went to Orchard Lake St. Mary's, right here in Oakland County, and he's had to deal with let's see, Blaine Gabbert, Blake Bortles, Gardner Minshew, Mitch Trubisky, Andy Dalton, Justin Fields, which I'm not ready to throw the book out on Justin Fields.
But rookie quarterback.
But still, rookie, exactly. And yet, talent-wise, he's probably top 10 in the league.
I have nothing to add to that. I like basically everything you just said is everything you just said is exactly the points I was going to make. You might have lost a couple guys. Whitworth, yeah, but like, dude, the guy he's too old to be doing this shit anymore. You're going to go out on top with a Super Bowl.
Right.
I'm at the point right now where I don't think net wise that the Rams have lost anything. And for a way too early's power ranking, I'm going to let the champ sit on top for just a little bit longer. You know what I mean? Like this will probably get adjusted post draft,
What's up, Stuart? The comment god, Stuart Cadwalder. I'm sorry, dude. Messed up your last name. Stuart, the comment god, is in the chat. What's up, Stuart?
I think when you get into the regular season, I think you're going to see the Rams fall down the power ranking, like you just said, the Super Bowl hangover.
Yeah,
I think they're going to be in the I think they're going to be that team next year that we're all like, hey, they're a great team.
They're the Rams.
They're the Rams. Let's get worried. It's fine. Like everything, and I think they're going to be right there in the NFC Championship at the least next year.
Yeah. I have nothing. I mean, they have one of the best coaches in the league as well. Matt Stafford's proven he can win you a Super Bowl. So, until they prove it otherwise, right?
And I think the other part is we both have you had the Bucks at 3, or no, I had the Bucks at. Do we both have the Bucks at 3?
Yep. We both have the Bucks.
We both had the Bucks at 3, and then we both had the Rams at 1. So we were saying earlier, like the NFC is the easier path to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I think those are the two teams.
I had the Packers at 6. You have them at 7. So relatively speaking, 6.5. Right. So I think pretty much the same rankings there.
So how did that shake out? How many NFC teams?
You have a lot more than me. A lot more than me.
And I think we value what we call the power rankings just a little bit differently. And
we were looking at a different way. Aaron, for those of you that didn't catch the front end here, I'll show you the 12 through 9. We agreed straight up on the Cowboys at 12, the Browns at 11. I'm a lot lower on the Chargers than Aaron is. I got them at 10. Kind of a prove it to me kind of situation. Aaron thinking they're going to be competing for an AFC championship potentially. Yeah, it's a big. Hey, I mean, bold, baby. Risk it for the biscuit. Got the Raiders at 9, and Aaron has the Broncos at 9. Coming in here at 8, Titans and Niners. I got the Colts and Packers. I got the Packers. Aaron's got the Bengals. We agreed to consensus at number 5 is the Chiefs. I've got the Bills at 4, while Aaron has the Chargers. We were consensus at 3 on the Bucks. I got the Bengals at 2, Aaron with the Bills, and then the Rams are consensus number 1. Way too early pre-draft power rankings. So that is, ladies and gentlemen, your pre-draft power rankings. As we move on to the next part of the show, ladies and gentlemen, there's a scandal in the league. There is. That's right. There's a scandal in the league going on right now. Get out of town. This is a pure league.
Well, oh my.
One of astute gentlemen that I do declare. I mean, so we've got some shit going down, ladies and gentlemen. And we've talked a lot about the Titans. A team that we haven't talked about because they're in a large market so they can go fuck themselves are the Washington Commanders. Washington Commanders. Aaron, fill us in on what's happening with the Washington Commanders again. Right?
So Dan Snyder has been a notorious piece of shit, and I'm going to just start here. He has made every single person that has ever walked his path refer to him as Mr. Snyder. And if he ever told me to do that, I told him to go fuck himself, but he also doesn't sign my checks.
What's that? Mr. Schmegma? What'd you say? I would just fuck with him and call him like Mr. Snides. Or I would just say like random shit that kind of sounds like Snyder the whole time just to fuck with him and make him think he's going crazy a little bit.
You can go look at countless stories of people that have like barely thrown any shade at him, and then they're like, oh, this guy is invested for like tax evasion, which is the funniest part.
Is he a mob boss?
He's just one of those guys that just thinks he's bigger than he fucking is. He basically
probably got a massive hog.
His nuts twisted into a bind to even rename the Redskins, even though everyone was like, that's pretty fucked up
racist
name, dude.
Yeah.
And like, I'm not doing it. But anyways, okay, I'm going way off, but the Redskins, the Washington football team, the Commanders basically got investigated for sexual abuse with their cheerleading squad.
Yep.
There was federal investigations that got brought on, and if you know anything about federal investigations, it's not necessarily we're going to investigate what we're looking at. We're going to follow the paper trail. So
we're going to look at everything.
We're going to look at everything.
We're going to subpoena your email servers, all that shit.
And now everything is really under the microscope. So what everyone's always said, well, why don't the owners make him sell the team? He's a piece of shit. Nobody likes him. Basically what was uncovered, which is allegedly, we should throw that out there, was that the Redskins, Washington football team, Commanders, because it was within that time frame, were basically holding two different books. And how the NFL works is it's a split revenue system where your ticket sales gets put into a pot and then it gets distributed 32 times.
Yep.
And the Redskins Commanders, I keep doing it and I'm sorry, but
which just to comment on that real quick is kind of an interesting scheme because it almost disincentivizes teams from putting in any kind of ticket promos because they don't need to sell tickets. They don't need to drive ticket revenue. They're going to get ticket revenue the same as everybody else. It's not going to be an advantage for another team. So it's just an interesting way that the NFL has it lined up versus like an MLB. So continue.
Or for instance, upgrade your stadium.
Right. You don't need to. Why would you spend that money? Make the city do it.
Exactly. So Snyder has been pretty much a notorious asshole, but the owners aren't going to vote him out because it's kind of like a brotherhood almost.
Yeah.
And until you fuck with any of their money.
Yeah.
So if this actually comes to light, the NFL has the ability where the owners can actually vote out Snyder, which would really be a best case scenario. So
for humanity, I think at this point.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah. I think they'll probably walk him through the streets like Cersei Lannister in Game of Thrones naked, and everyone just throws shit at him. And somebody is walking with the bell dressed as a nun. I'm going to nominate Lawrence Taylor to do it, and he's just going to shame, ding, and just trudge him through the streets butt naked. I think that's how it goes down.
So Roger Goodell works for the owners, so he's not going to be like, you have to leave. The only time we've ever seen anything like this was like Donald Sterling with the Clippers, but that was a way different situation. So it'll be interesting to see how it kind of turns to light. But I think, like you just said, I think everyone will agree if Dan Snyder can get rid of this team, that would be great. The only problem is I really don't want Jeff Bezos to own a team.
I would love him to own the Cincinnati Reds. I would be. Will, can I get a score update on the Reds, by the way, man? They're up 3-1 last I saw. I appreciate those updates, but I would love for Jeff Bezos to own the Reds. That would be fantastic. I know, like, ethically and morally speaking, like, fuck him, but like, because like the world is hungry, and he's like, I'm gonna go put my dick in outer space, and then he like goes and does it. And But like he would probably make a baseball team really good because he can. So like,
yeah, sure, fine.
like if he's like, I'm buying the Guardians tomorrow, you'd be like, fuck, and then you'd be like, wait, oh, like is he gonna do something that sucks? Like
I act like, here's the thing. I understand how easy Amazon Prime is, and I'm not gonna say I don't use it
all the time.
I will actively try to not use it until I have to.
You're a better man than me. We all knew that, but I'm saying it here on this podcast. But yeah, I mean, I like the idea of looking for alternate sources better than I actually like looking for alternate sources, because like in my head, I'm like, I already paid for this service. I might as well use it, right? Like you already have my money.
Yeah. No, actually well, yeah, it's fine. It's not mine. It's my fiance's. I'm just like, yeah, do you mind ordering me?
Hey, I need a capo. I lost mine.
No, you know what my last one was? Is I didn't want to buy new basketball shoes, so I found this like spray shit that you can like put on the bottom of your shoes, and like it'll make it new. It didn't work, but I was like, oh, it's $10. We'll be here tomorrow. I got a game. Let's go.
Reds 3-1, top of the 6th. Reds have 2 outs, man, on first and second, both after we had 2 outs. Awesome. Okay, cool. Well, they might actually win the first game of the year. I got them at 76 and 86, I think is what I got them at this year. So
they're playing 162, right?
I believe they are. Yeah,
because I know they had to push back. Yeah, okay.
So basically he's hiding ticket revenue from the rest of the league, meaning I'm siphoning off a portion of the money that we're bringing in. I'm reporting that we're bringing in less than that so that I have to share less with the rest of you fucks. My question is, this investigation with Snyder, the only way it goes away is if other people have been fucking around too. That's the only way it goes away. If other people have fucked up too, they're going to make it go away.
But I don't see how that comes to light.
Well, they're going to follow if they can connect any team to any one owner to Dan Snyder, or any organization to Dan Snyder. Like I thought shit was going to hit the fan for Mark Davis when the John Gruden shit went down.
Right.
But you could consider there's probably some made men in the NFL, right? Like I would say like Mike Brown and Mark Davis and Jerry Jones, like those guys are made men in the world of the NFL. You know what I mean? To whereas they would literally have to like sacrifice a child to get voted out. I don't think
it would be like whose child.
Right, exactly. Like we could consider that. I think Dan Snyder's just, it's kind of been like, dude, like we've had like the NFL has probably buried so much shit already on him that it's like, dude, we're done doing this now. We need to move forward as a league. So it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out with that. I think that this could be the thing that does put a nail in the coffin though for Snyder, because like you said, he fucked with another billionaire's money, and that's just one thing you don't do.
Yeah.
Unless you're the government.
Like, I'm all on your side until you fuck with my millions or billions.
Exactly. Yep. Exactly. That's not the only drama going around in the league.
No, it is not.
There is a team that we cover with the Tennessee Titans. It's some pretty damning information that has come out as of late. Obviously, we know about the Mark Flores lawsuit that has emerged, where Flores claiming that he was a part of sham interviews or fake interviews, basically, in order to acknowledge what was the Rooney Rule, which the Rooney Rule is put in place to guarantee that minority coaches get an opportunity to interview for the job as well. There was no rule set in place that X number of minority coaches needed to be hired. It was that they needed the opportunity to interview for the job. So it was like a half-assed affirmative action, essentially. It's good in principle. In principle, I think they put it into place because they wanted to improve the numbers of minority coaches. At this point, we've seen that it just simply doesn't work. I think this is further proof. So we're going to try and play you a little bit of audio. This is Ray Horton, who alleged that, I'm sorry, Ray Horton is suing the Titans, or is put up a grievance.
Interview, yeah.
Yeah, it's Malarkey's interview as the head coach hired after 2016. And this is Ray Horton that filed the claim. Malarkey's doing a podcast with a Steeler podcast. That's irrelevant. But here's the audio of what Malarkey said about his hiring process. We're going to play it for you now. We're going to try to play it for you now. Just bear with me.
Fake hiring process, knowing a lot of the coaches that they were interviewing, knowing how much they prepared to go through those interviews, knowing that everything they could do, and they had no chance of getting that job. And actually, the GM, John Robinson, he was in on the interview with me. He had no idea why he's interviewing me, that I have the job already. And I feel, I regret that's because I pride myself in my kids first, that they do the right thing. And I always said that to the players, and here I am, the head guy, not doing it. And I've regretted that since then. It was the wrong thing to do. I'm sorry I did that. But it was not the way to go about it. Should have interviewed like everybody else and got hired because of the interview, not early on. So that's probably my biggest regret.
Well, that's a touching story, and appreciate you sharing that with us.
So it's not hard. It's not hard to do the right thing. It's really not.
Yeah, and that is from the I think it's Steelers Beam podcast. Pretty damning
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's I mean, you have a guy that's just like, I'm trying to I don't know if he's like, from my opinion, it's like he's like, I have to get this off my chest. Like, I can't live with this any longer. Like, I feel awful about it, kind of thing. And it's selfish in doing that. Yeah, but at the end of the day, it's the right thing to do, right? Because I think he's doing it for a selfish reason, because I think he literally has this weight on his chest, and he's like, I need to get this off. I need to talk about this. Credit to these guys for having him on their podcast and getting this shit out there. Like, they're breaking this stuff. Podcast is probably blown up. Good for them, but I think the bigger issue here is that this is a fundamental problem within the NFL. This is an issue that it's a boys' club to this day. It's about who you know more than who you are and what you bring to the table, I think, is what we've kind of seen come to light over the last 3 months. Yeah. Aaron, what do you think?
I really hope I can articulate this well. I think this was a very big deal, because I think Malarkey is the first coach that is white that we've heard confirm this. And there's something about that makes it more real, because you've had Flores, you've had Horton, and you had the Hugh Jackson one, which I can argue is complete bullshit, and I will.
Marvin Lewis said it.
Right. But my point is when you have all coaches of color coming out and making the same comments, I think it can be a little bit more dismissive from other people that are like, well, they're, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And again, I'm hoping I'm articulating this well, and I don't know that I am, but there is something to be said about the fact that there is somebody who's actually confirmed the fact that this has all been bullshit from being the white coach.
Yeah. No, I think, the point you're trying to get across is that it's further validation. We already had validation by the fact that there are already people out here saying it. And I think for most of it was enough, right? For most of us, it was enough that Marvin Lewis was saying it, that Brian Flores was saying it, X, Y, and Z. All of these coaches are coming out and saying that this was an issue. For a lot of us, that was enough. We believed what they were saying. This is for the people that were like, well, what are they going to say? They, of course they're going to say that they didn't get the job. They're bitter. This is for those people. This is for those people that are seeing that this is actually happening, that it's a sham interview. It's bullshit. They're only interviewing X, Y, or Z because they have to. They don't have any intention of hiring them. And beyond the fact of race, beyond the fact that they have to interview a black guy, it's a waste of their fucking time.
Right.
Do you have time to do a bullshit interview that doesn't count? Would you do it? It's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't interview with a company knowing I wasn't going to get the job just for the fucking experience. No, right. I go into an interview thinking I'm getting this job. I'm getting this job. I'm
You
gonna
at least
interview
deserve you at least deserve the opportunity, and I can see Will in the chat, and I think it's a solid point. Um, but you shouldn't interview anyone without them having the opportunity to get the job. You don't walk in, interview somebody, and think, all right, great, thanks, we just checked a box.
Yeah.
I mean, in theory, and I think the Rooney Rule, when it first came about, which was like what, early 2000s, I want to say, if I had to just throw a dart, I would guess like 04
I think
or
it's like
something like that.
16 or so years. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it served its purpose, and I think it basically was, all right, great, black guys are interviewing is basically what it came down to. And at the beginning, that might have been enough, but there was no updated version of that, if that makes sense. There are a couple things that the NFL has done recently where they are now starting to award compensatory picks, not for just coaches, but GMs. The Browns have a third round pick for our assistant GM becoming the GM with the Vikings this year. Which, hey, great, you're rewarding teams. That's what you need to do, is you need to reward teams for bringing
Not
guys up
require
through,
them to do it.
not require them. You need to reward them for bringing them up through your ranks.
Yeah.
And even on the reverse side of it is, that doesn't mean there aren't great white coaches either, that are qualified as well.
Yeah. But and the thing is, like,
it's a weird, sticky situation. You know what I mean?
yeah, in a sport that's minimally half black, minimally.
Right.
Half black. You're going to tell me that there are 2, I think, maybe 3 minority coaches in the league? 10%, when at least 50% of the league is of color? There's something else going on there, right? Like there's something it just doesn't make sense, and it's been that way for a while in terms of the representation amongst the players versus the representation amongst the coaches. I think 20 years ago you could make the argument that these are the guys that have been around football, right? Because I think when those guys were playing football, Bill Belichick was playing football. It was probably a predominantly white sport due to a lot of social and economic issues, right? That's changed. It's not the case anymore. So I think we're seeing it's going to be a shift in the representation amongst the coaches of people of color that is going to be respected to that of the representation of people of color throughout the players in the league.
Well, there's just a ridiculous amount of lag time, right? So where there was only white players, okay, so now there are black players, which therefore there can be black coaches. What is the constant? White owners.
It's a good point. That's a good point. I think Will makes a good comment here. I like the last part of this. He says, I think it would be unfair to say that there aren't plenty of interviews that happen after someone has already been identified as the ideal candidate for the role. I think that's a fair point. That's probably true.
100%. Not
that it's right in any scenario, but the old guard is used to it. And the NFL is definitely full of the old guard. I think that's 100% accurate. I think that this, and it kind of gets back to what you were just saying, ownership. There's only one way to remove an owner, and it's by majority. I think it might be a 75% vote of the other owners to remove that person. And nobody's going to do that to somebody else out of fear that it will happen to them, right? You set a precedent by voting out an owner, right? And this is a league rather where ownership is passed down like estates or trust funds.
And they are.
It isn't. It's an inheritance.
Housing, it's the same thing. Real estate in general, you see that all the time.
Yeah. So it's cyclical in that regard, and the only thing that changes is when an owner decides to sell, and they're going to go to the highest price. They don't care if they're a Martian from Mars or another old white dude. It doesn't matter. They're going to sell to the highest price. That's just how it goes. And that's what we could be looking at here in Washington is a changing of that.
Right.
So it's very interesting, and I'm curious if you have any more additional thoughts on it.
I think each of us, and I know we're both going to agree on this point, but I think each of us can take a step back and go, we're two white guys talking about this,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
White males, and I'm fine. That's fine, and that doesn't mean that we can't talk about things, but I also think that means that we don't have a certain perspective.
100%. I
And
think
there's
that's
no way. Yeah, there's no way that we could.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it'd be ignorant of us to assume that we can understand what it's like to go through that, because we can't. And but at the end of the day, I think the one thing that we can agree on is that it's not a bad thing to have more representation of our country, if not even at least just the league, through ownership and front office and head coaching. At the minimum, head coaching, right? That's the minimum. That's the next glass ceiling that we as a society have to break through in terms of how this league is managed. Any other thoughts on the issue?
I think
it's a crazy multi-layered issue that it's not crazy, but you know what I mean?
And I hate it because I feel like I'm talking while walking on eggshells, even though I think we're basically both on the same page. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's bad to not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Racism equals bad.
Bad. Yeah.
100%. I think when the Carolina Panthers went up for sale, I think it was P. Diddy or whatever he goes by now. I'm sorry. Diddy.
Yeah.
He tried to make a case. Sean Combs.
I have no idea.
Legally tried to garner up enough money to purchase the team. And then and I even made the comment of him earlier, David Tepper, who is the highest, has the highest net worth of any owner across any major sports, is who earned the team. And obviously whoever bids the most is going to win the auction. There are so many different layers to that, though, of how many people did not have the opportunity for generational wealth to get to that point, to even have the money to garner up to purchase said team.
Yeah.
To act like that stuff doesn't exist is just completely ignorant. And again, I'm a white male who grew up middle class, was very fortunate to even make that comment. And I feel even weird commenting about it almost. Yeah. And I don't want to walk on eggshells again and kind of talk about this stuff, but it's a very real issue.
Yeah, it is. And, it'd be silly of us not to bring it up because it's a major issue in the world of sports, the world of football, particularly on a team that we say we cover, right? We like to talk about small market teams. Nashville is a small market in terms of the NFL. We're going to talk about the Titans. And if you cannot talk about the Titans without talking about this, and when you talk about this, it opens Pandora's box of issues that we don't necessarily have the answers for, but we're going to talk about them, and we're going to try and do so delicately, and we're going to try and do so in a way that is intelligent and understanding and empathetic, and from a perspective of we understand how ignorant we are to the issue, but at the same time, we're allies. We're allies in the issue, right? Will with a comment, 100% agrees that you guys can't identify with the folks suffering from the situation. However, you can shed light on it. Top notch for doing that. I appreciate that, Will. This is a topic I could talk about for hours. Well handled, guys. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. That's all we were trying to do. Just talk about it and give some real perspective.
Yeah, I mean, to not talk about it is, I think, the worst thing you can do.
Yeah, absolutely. So we already talked about the Masters. I don't want to get into that. I'm just trying to make sure we have one more thing to do before the night is over. Ladies and gentlemen, back by popular demand, it is Who the Fuck It Is on Line to Gain. This is an in the post game that I am bringing to Line to Gain, and Aaron, it's only going to be for you. So what are the rules? I got three players. I got 3 NFL players, current NFL players. I'm going to list off 3 facts for you, and you're going to try and guess. You can have 2 guesses, and then I will give you 1 additional fact. If you get it wrong, I will, and then you can guess again. I'll give you 1 additional fact, and you can guess again. So you get 3 total guesses. After your first 2 are wrong, I'll give you 1 additional fact. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for who the fuck it is. Number 1, this individual was drafted 5th overall. 5th overall.
Okay.
He is a 5-time All-Pro. He has a child with the little sister of Golden Tate. Who is it?
Jalen Ramsey.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey, number 5th overall to the Jacksonville Jaguars. 5-time All-Pro.
Thank God I read TMZ.
That was amazing. That was amazing. That was amazing. I saw your eyes light up. I was like, God damn it. I thought I got him on this one. I got him on this. Okay. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are on to number 2. This individual was also drafted 5th overall. In his first play in a preseason game, he scored a touchdown. He also tied the punt return touchdown record his rookie year. Aaron, who the fuck it is?
Can you rapid fire those for me again? Super quick. I'm so sorry.
5th overall. First preseason play in a game was a touchdown. Tied the punt return touchdown record his rookie year. 4 touchdowns.
Percy Harvin. No, he's not an active player.
No, it's not an active player. It is not Percy Harvin, Aaron. It is not Percy Harvin. Okay, I'll give you one more clue about this individual. Let's see. Went to LSU.
Went to LSU. First preseason game, scored a touchdown. Punt. What was the punt return one?
Is a punt returns for touchdown. Tied the record.
I have no idea.
There's Aaron. There I am.
There you are.
We switched. There we go. We're back.
Good.
Sorry about that.
I was gonna say I have no idea, but I have to guess LSU. It's got to be a corner or a receiver. Oh God, I have no idea.
Just guess.
Odell Beckham.
No, ladies and gentlemen, it is Patrick Peterson. Patrick Peterson was 5th overall.
Yeah,
in his first play. He intercepted. Who did he pick 6? He had a pick 6 his first preseason play. Pick 6. He was named a starter ever since. Probably going to end up being a Hall of Famer one day. Is Patrick Peterson, and he also in his rookie year he tied Devin Hester with 4 touchdowns returned off a punt. So absolutely stellar rookie season, and probably one of the best.
I'm upset with myself about that one.
That was a good one. I'm glad I stumped you. I'm not making them easy. I'm not making them easy though.
Stump the Schwab.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it is our 3rd and final round of who the fuck it is. This individual was drafted 4th overall. He set a franchise rookie record against his current team. He brings a chessboard when he travels for road games. Aaron, who the fuck it is?
He set a what record against his current
team? He
team?
set a franchise rookie record. So it was a record for the franchise that he was drafted by against the team that he is currently on. He's drafted 4th overall. And he brings a chessboard on the road with him wherever he goes.
Leonard Fournette.
Let's see. Another fun fact about this individual. He has been on 3 NFL teams.
Fuck. Rapid fire me again. I'm sorry.
Yeah, absolutely. 4th overall. He was drafted 4th overall. He set a franchise rookie record against his current team. He brings a chessboard when he travels for road games, and he has been on 3 NFL teams.
Richard Sherman.
Oh, no, I'm
idea.
sorry. This one is Amari Cooper.
Oh.
Amari Cooper. Let me get the statistic for you on the rookie record. So let's see here. Cooper made his NFL debut on September 13th, 2015. He had 5 receptions for 47 yards in a 33-13 loss to the Cincinnati Bengals. In his second game against the Baltimore Ravens, he had 109 yards. Caught his first touchdown in a 68-yard pass from Derek Carr. The following week, Cooper had a franchise rookie record with 8 receptions for 134 yards and a 27-20 road victory over
The Browns.
the Cleveland Browns. Exactly. So Amari Cooper. So, ladies and gentlemen, we had Jalen Ramsey, Patrick Peterson, and Amari Cooper. All boys south of the
I was
Mason-Dixon
feeling
line.
really good after the Ramsey one.
You killed that one. The
Those
fact
are
that
tougher, man. I mean, here's
those
the thing.
were tough. Those were tough.
Here's the thing. NBA has less teams and less players.
Yeah, that's very true. I actually
get a
found this.
year
You know
college,
Wordle.
that's
You know
tough.
Wordle.
Yeah.
There's Weddle.
I've seen that.
It's tough.
Yeah.
Especially on the easy mode is just fantasy players. The hard mode is literally everybody on the field. So it could be like it could be a guard, or it could be a free safety, or it could be Joe Burrow. Like it is, you know what I mean? There's not much else going on. Or there's tons of options out there. So it's really, really hard. But chat, I think we've extended our welcome beyond.
No, we got to answer Will's last one here.
Oh shit! Did Will come in with a question? I'm sorry. Let's see. I missed that. My bad. Bottom three.
I can go real quick.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Texans, Giants, Seahawks.
I'm gonna go.
Oh, actually, wait. Texans, Giants, Panthers.
I'm gonna go. Texans. I'm gonna go Texans, Falcons, Saints.
Nah, Jameis. Jameis is still.
No.
Yeah.
No. Dalton will be the starter before the end of the year.
No matter.
Bank it. Take it to the bank.
Kamara, they still got a good defense. They'll be.
No. Okay. Then the one I would replace with them would be the Giants. That would be it. So, or the Jaguars again.
We are in absolute agreement on the Texans.
Or they seemingly, I had them as the number 1 overall pick next year or this season, so it didn't happen. But or the Jaguars, they seemingly love the number 1 overall pick, so maybe they'll do it again. Who knows?
I think Lawrence will be okay.
I mean, hard to say, but don't hitch your wagon to Jameis. That's for
I'm not hitching my wagon to Jameis. I'm hitching him to bottom 4 or above.
We got to get out of here. I'm about to make an accident right over here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us on Line to Game. We love you so much. We'll see you on Tuesday for Town Hall Tuesday. Hopefully the Reds can hang on to this 6-1 victory with no bullpen. We'll see it. Thank you so much for joining us. Aaron, love you. Thank you for coming on the show again, man. We'll see you next time, guys.